Chucky got the sauce, bitch.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. I had to restart my little streaming program. But we're not muted. Yeah. Ooh, zoopy, 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 zoopy. I'm glad that worked seamlessly right there. Zoopy, you're a bad boy right now. We did get a haircut yesterday, yes. No, Gung Fu, you can be as bad of a boy as you want in the chat. Now, I can't always respond to that stuff, but you know, let's fix the little hair over here. Let's fix that little wild hair right there. I had to do this in 2 minutes. The vegans are scared of the gaslighting. It's so funny how you really start to understand the trends of the internet based on YouTube and based on the group think. All of a sudden, everybody has become this expert on psychology. They all have psychology degrees, vegan foot soldier. Apparently, Michelle Lowe is a psychologist. I need to see some credentials on that, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't actually believe that. She doesn't necessarily come across as somebody who has got a PhD as an actual psychologist. I have to see some credentials on that. Sue me on that. But yeah, everybody's all of a sudden a narcissistic personality disorder specialist, and it's really funny to me. Really funny to me. And now the whole internet has caught fire with this. Everybody knows what gaslighting is. Let's call everybody a gaslighter. Crazy, right? I watched Michelle Lowe's video about me gaslighting, and hang on one second, I got a text. Guys, is the audio okay? Is the audio fine? What's going on here? Give me some feedback. Cool. Okay. Yeah, so Michelle made a video about me. We might be able to pull this up here. She said that Drew, she went through like the 12 things that a narcissist is. And really, she made a case that basically all vegans are narcissists because the way that they come across is all of these things. They attack your foundation of your beliefs. What does that sound like? It sounds like vegans to me. Everything you've been told your whole life is wrong. You like cows? You're a bad guy. You should eat plants only. And then you're thinking, wait a minute, what? And they say, well, think about it. Fruits and vegetables, nobody ever said those were unhealthy, right? And you're thinking, no, I guess fruits and vegetables are healthy. I guess red meat, I've heard doctors in my past say red meat's kind of bad. Yeah, fruits and vegetables are healthy. Therefore, that's all you should eat. What? Insane. All I do is show them the mirror, man. That's it. I'm nobody special. I'm just a regular dude who kept decent track of his history as a vegan, before veganism, after veganism, my results. Again, on this channel, we promote a results-based approach. My results speak for themselves. They are better as an ex-vegan than they were as a vegan. I didn't have everything dialed in before I went vegan. I didn't know the things that I know now before I went vegan. That's why I struggled the way that I did, and that's why I sought veganism out in the first place. These people, and again, Michelle Lowe, like, you know, she can come on the channel. She's fine, but I'm going to call it as it is. Mark Tassie doesn't look healthy to me. Michelle Lowe doesn't look that healthy to me. You have people telling me about health when I'm healthier than them. So it becomes a little frustrating. You have Vegan Foot Soldier talking about how he's the healthiest he's ever been. I don't doubt that. I'm not saying that you aren't the healthiest you've ever been, but that doesn't really mean much. You probably come from a very unhealthy background. You're string being skinny. So what? You're a cyclist. So what? You're a cyclist, man. Being a cyclist is, especially a non-competitive cyclist, like, who cares? This is one of the easiest sports to get into. I injured myself as a cyclist, as a vegan. That's how messed up that diet is. I injured myself doing cycling. Now, of course, I do have my chest injury from doing push-ups to the max, but I was training as a cyclist. I had a couple $1,000 bicycle. I was actually doing that for several months. Foot Soldier's insane muscle growth training. I don't know anything about it. It's funny. He's pointing the picture at me, saying, "Drew, he made a 30-minute video the other day. If you guys don't know, you guys should go check that video out." I watched like 10 minutes of it. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't trigger me at all. Like, I can literally watch this video with no issue because I know who I am, and Vegan Foot Soldier to me is a character on YouTube. He's saying that I'm dishonest. I'm the one who actually shows my face on YouTube. And I show my results too. Point blank. Michelle Lowe has health problems. She took 2 weeks off of work because she was really tired and had a blood test done. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's up with these people. And again, she keeps saying that I called her the crazy vegan lady. I did not call her the crazy vegan lady. I was reading my chat, and I even showed that to her in her comment section, and she keeps making this point as if I called her the crazy vegan lady. I did not call her that. I don't really know much about Michelle Lowe's material. It's not really a diss on her channel. I just haven't really caught up with it. Tassi will be on in 18 minutes or so. I've got a questionnaire list as usual. Quite a few questions for Tassi. I don't know exactly what we're going to cover today. Just so you guys know the history of this whole situation, Tassi invited me, or added me on Facebook. He wanted to be Facebook friends a couple weeks ago. So I accepted it, and then I messaged him. I said, "Hey Tassi, you ready for Showtime or what? We're gonna do this?" Because he was trying to play the games and pretend like he didn't want to come on the show. He was trying to pretend like he was too good for the show. He said that I had to race him up Mount Baldy and beat him. Then he backed that down and he said, "Okay, I just have to make it to the top of Mount Baldy," which for those that don't know is this really steep cycling climb. And the fact that Mark can make it up that hill, I got to say, is impressive, but we're going to get more into that. Because I was calling him degenerated, which I don't back down from that statement at all. We'll see what he has to say. Mark's made a lot of claims on his channel. There's a reason why he doesn't resonate with a wider audience, and he's been around for a long, long time, and I'm sure he's going to say, "That's because I'm being held down. YouTube algorithm is against me. People just don't understand what vitality is." I don't really want to fight with the guy. I don't think he's the most mentally stable, just to be flat out honest. And I have evidence to back that up. I'm not just saying that because of the way that he looks or how I feel about him. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not here to incite him in any way. I don't want to create this battle with him. I thought it was fun at first. Mark has annoyed me thoroughly throughout his YouTube existence. He finds me in the comment section even before I was making videos, disagreeing with me, especially now that I have a little bit of people knowing who I am. He's definitely loves to disagree with me. He likes to make videos about me, just like Vegan Foot Soldier, just like Michelle Lowe. All these people, they're in love, man. I don't know what the deal is. Vegan Foot Soldier, if you guys go watch that video, you could tell he actually likes me. See, I'm 10 steps ahead of these vegans. Elise Parker, what's up, baby? I'm 10 steps ahead of these vegans, guys. They don't realize... Now, Vegan Foot Soldier, I admire what he's doing because he's pointing out these narcissistic traits and these tactics and things like that. He's right, guys. He's fucking right. I am playing mind games with them. They know what I'm up to, but they don't... They're steps behind. They don't understand. It's like in the horror movie, like they find the criminal is leading, the murderer is leading little breadcrumbs for people, and they think that they're onto him, but he's setting the traps for them. Does that make sense? That's what I'm doing to these people. They don't even understand it. So many steps ahead of them. There's a spider web, a network of pathways that I have them going around. They don't even understand. Abbas Leciel, such a pretentious pseudo-individual. Brother, you know, Gung Fu, when we talk about integrity, let the results speak for themselves. And vegans, they rely on character assassination. They want to talk bad about the person. Now they're all banding together saying I'm a narcissist. They're trying to prove that I'm a narcissist. Fucking go for it. Who cares? It doesn't matter. My results will still stand on their own. And people who are actually discerning individuals who are interested in health, who are interested in truth, they will say, okay, maybe that guy is a narcissist, but hey, he feels better. His digestion is better. His mental clarity is better. By the way, guys, I'm still off the caffeine and I feel so good. I feel so good. I'm like 4 days deep now. My energy is just smoothed out throughout the day. I've had headaches here and there for the past couple days. Keep in mind, I was drinking like a cup of coffee, 2 diet sodas a day, plus energy drinks on some days. Way over the top. I know, I get it. I was making jokes, blah, 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 blah. We all have to pay the piper sometimes. Exactly, Carson. All these narcissists trying to prove that other people are narcissists. You know, and this is what's really funny is I have a great deal of research done on narcissists myself. I know all about narcissists. I know real life narcissists, real ones. And that's what's funny to me is that they're trying to tell me about something. They're like at the novice level of understanding of it. I really understand. I've lived with narcissists. I've been involved with narcissists for years. I know what they're up to. And the other thing that's interesting about narcissists is medical professionals, psychologists, oftentimes will not work with narcissists because narcissists will just spend their time in the clinic convincing the psychologist that they are not a narcissist. And they're so adept and so clever-minded that they can actually convince the person that's supposed to be psychoanalyzing them into believing that they are not a narcissist. How deep is that? So if I was a real narcissist, I would be trying to cover my tracks. I wouldn't be doing these overt things. Again, so many steps ahead of the vegans. So many steps ahead of these rookie minds like Vegan Foot Soldier. I like Vegan Foot Soldier. I actually do think he's one of the smarter ones. I like the path that he's on. But what he doesn't understand is the more he researches the vegan assassin, the more he starts to just digest the truth. He wants to prove me wrong so bad. He wants to paint me out to be a bad guy. And then in doing so, he will find the opposite. And I love that. That's the whole purpose. And I can give away my game plan. It's so effective. There's nothing they can do about it. All I do is sit here and show up, show my results, speak candidly and with some respect to my guests. By the way, anybody who does actually come on the show, I have a much greater deal of respect for them. I probably won't talk shit on Mark Tassie after this video, after this stream. People who decide to come on the show, I have respect for. Vegan Foot Soldier, he's declined the show because he's literally too scared. He doesn't want to hear me say the magic combination, the Rubik's Cube of ex-veganism. He doesn't want me to hit that button that's going to make him full on think about what's really going on within himself, the people around him. All you got to do is look around yourself, vegans. You know that you don't see a wide glowing array. And it's what's really funny is vegans will come to me and say, well, all these vegans that are really healthy aren't the ones that are on YouTube. What? That's because they're probably not even really vegans. I know so many vegans, 20 plus year vegans. Yeah, right. They would be on YouTube. They would be more well-known activists. But where are they? They're nowhere to be found. T-Tribby. Exactly. As a vegan, I clicked on Vegan Deterioration's videos like, who is this chick? But now I'm brainwashed anti-vegan. Once you make the connection, right? Once you make the connection with the animals, you can never go back. Even if your teeth are falling out, your muscle mass is gone, your hair is gone, falling out thinned. You got deep forehead wrinkle lines. What day am I going to talk to Michelle Lowe? Well, I will talk to her I'll talk to her probably Friday. I normally do Saturday streams, but I'm trying to get Vegan Foot Soldier on Saturday. I'm calling this Vegan Week. Vegan guests only this week. We got Mark Tassie. Michelle Lowe wants to come on. I'm pretty sure she's available anytime. And then Vegan Foot Soldier. I told him I give him the glorious Saturday morning spot. That's the best spot of the week. So Vegan Foot Soldier, let's go. Quit talking your crap behind your mask, your 30-minute videos. You can get riled up on stream with me, buddy. All right? It's just really funny. Clown Mazard just posted. He said that Vegan Foot Soldier's talking about himself. He's everything he accused of Drew. Well, guys, again, if you go down the list of narcissistic tendencies, those are things that the vegans all use in their game plan. They go after what's near and dear to your heart. They make you They make you question the foundation of your beliefs. All I do is point out your results and say, hey, are you okay with these results? This is what, objectively speaking, is going on here. Vegan Foot Soldier, you're telling us that you're making all kinds of gains. But are you really? How is that narcissistic? It's just saying you haven't made gains that you said you've made. And he tries to tell me that he's such a hard gainer that even when he was on meat, he couldn't make any gains in the gym. But veganism somehow allowed him to make more gains than when he was on an omnivore diet. Oh, right. So he's such a newbie. Again, he's so many steps behind. Vegan Foot Soldier, go to bodybuilding.com, type in hard gainer in the search, and you're going to find 15 and 16-year-olds all over the planet who are all thinking they can't make gains. And in reality, they're just not eating enough food to make gains. I was a hard gainer too, dude. 123 pounds, 5 feet 10 inches, very, very skinny. I started finally eating and lifting correctly at 18 years old. I put on 30 pounds in 3 months. I would like to see a vegan try that without putting on a bunch of fat. Plantriotic is attempting that right now. Haven't heard from him in weeks. Told him that he was going to lose all his gains when he started cutting down body fat. Haven't heard from him in weeks. He started getting all swollen, puffed up. His face got all big. I told him. I told Ted Carr the same thing. Ted Carr only makes gains when he's getting fat. These guys are all in the same program because they have to eat too many carbohydrates to their protein ratio. That's just the way that it works. I'm sorry, I didn't make the rules about this, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with the fact that it's plant protein or not. It's the fact that when you're eating a 100% plant-based diet, you are going to get way more carbs than protein unless you're just guzzling down tons of protein shakes and stuff like that. It's just the way it is. It's just the macro breakdown of the food. Like, there's nothing to argue there. I hope you guys are following along with this. Thank you. Life is a gift. Hard gainer equals not putting in enough effort. Hey, I mean, I was eating 5 meals a day for the first time in my life. I was eating chicken breast for lunch and beans and rice and tortillas, and I wasn't putting on fat. I was really putting on all muscle mass. And again, I always say that I have pictures to prove it. I can pull that up, but we'll let that go for today. Steffi Plant-Based says Tanny Raw and Banana Blondie look pretty healthy and happy to me. Tanny must be over 40. Blondie maybe end 30s. I think you're joking. Tanny's in her 50s, I believe, and Blondie's pushing 40. They do both look healthy. Tanny, I love Granny Tanny. She's commented on my videos before. I think she's looking a little too skinny these days, but that's that's just an observation that I've made. I think otherwise she has great energy. I feel like she's still mentally with it. Banana Blondie, don't really consume her material. I find her a little bit, she kind of reminds me of an Orange County chick, just kind of drab on life. Great body. What do I make of vegetable police no longer being carnivore? Guy cracks me up. He's all over the place. Yeah, he is all over the place. I don't make too much of it. You knew he was going to experiment with other stuff. I'm not upset with it. I'm not even a carnivore. I'm definitely not a carnivore. I eat. Look, you guys want? Give me 1 second, guys. I've got to invite Tassi. Everybody keeps lumping me in with the carnivores, and that's fine. I think a carnivore diet does make sense. I'm not advocating that it's the best end-all be-all diet ever, but it does make sense from a lot of perspectives. It's definitely better than a 100% fruitarian or 100% vegan diet. But my point was that I eat all kinds of food. Last week I ate a fish burrito in San Diego. I had beans and rice with it. Overall, my digestion is becoming damn near flawless. Like, why wouldn't I expand my food groups? See, as a vegan, my food groups, my choices were getting smaller and smaller. I could only eat certain foods. Everything was reacting to me. I was getting bloating and gas on freaking everything. Nuts and seeds, I couldn't eat those. Everybody, eat more nuts and seeds. Eat more lentils. Dude, those things gave me the worst digestion ever. I couldn't eat oatmeal. I never could really eat oatmeal, even as a early vegan. It kind of made me a little bit nauseous. Spices were really getting to me, like cinnamon, just random spices. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't eat that again. Explain how perfect digestion feels like. You got it. Okay. Perfect digestion goes like this. You eat the food. You're done with your meal. So you're satisfied, right? You're done with your meal. Your stomach isn't stuffed to the max. You can feel like you move. You feel like you can move around. You feel good. Then you feel like as you move on throughout the day, you don't get super tired. And then within about 45, 50 minutes or so, the food is basically gone from your stomach. You have no bloating and you have very, very minimal gas that doesn't smell bad, even if you do have some. A little bit. If you're on 100% carnivore, you basically have zero gas. And I mean, I really mean that. You have zero gas. Because of the fiberless nature of the food, you are going to see that you don't have to go to the bathroom that much. You don't have to poop that much. And then the final stage, and don't forget the final stage, when you actually get that out of your butt, it's very, very clean. We're talking you wipe one time and there's nothing there. Like an animal in nature. What animal in nature wipes their butt with toilet paper? Right? Think about that. You shouldn't need that if you were eating the correct diet. And here's another interesting thing. If you notice animals, dogs that are eating raw food, which is their natural diet, versus kibble, dogs on raw will have hard, solid poops that just come out of their butt like nothing. But if they're on kibble, they're typically a lot softer and a lot more of a mess. Which one is their natural diet and which one is not? I'm glad you think so, Elise. How about Drew doing a live chat without Tassi since we have a good flow now? This is the flow every day. This is the caffeineless flow. I think I might be smarter on caffeine. Was I totally screwing myself over with caffeine? Don't forget, guys, the Vegan Society, the British Dietetics Association, bases their vegan agenda on, says that all or most cats can be vegan. The organization that pushes veganism in England says that most cats can be vegan. Let that sink in. They're incorrect about something that is... I didn't even know that was debatable. I don't even know a vegan that thinks that cats can be vegan. Yet, that organization says that most cats and dogs can be vegan. How insane is that? Cats are classified as carnivores, but they can still be vegan. You should still try, okay? And that's the organization that is working closely with the British Dietetics Association that all these vegans think is so amazing. Who's doing the research on that? Who found that out? Who actually looked at the Vegan Society's website, clicked around a couple times, went to the British Dietetics Association, clicked around a couple times. Oh, that's right. It was me. The guy who doesn't know anything about science or back anything up. Wasn't that hard? People act like regurgitating science is hard. No, using your own logic and seeing things around you, using your own observational skills is hard. Apparently. But I'm a narcissist because I just point out things that are blatantly obvious. Right? All right. Where is this dude? Let's go, Mark Tasselberry. Send him the link. We will continue carrying the show. Let's fix this little crazy hair here. Drew, did you try eating raw kidney but in pieces and swallow whole? I haven't done that yet. I'm sorry. I'm a bad carnivore. Vegetable police? Lock them up. Lock them up. First of all, 4,000 subs, nowhere to be found. Hey, vegetable police, I said it's vegan week this week, so if you're ready to come on Saturday, I'll boot Foot Soldier to the side, and then you can have the Saturday slot. What do you say? You're vegan now, so it's vegan week. It fits. Kidney tastes like piss. I do agree. No. Today is Tassie's day. He's been wanting this, and we've been planning this for 2 weeks. Today will be Mark Tassie's day in the sun. I saw that he read the message, so he's obviously trying to figure it out. I just want to work to the bottom of the issues. Vegetable police. Sorry to hear about your colitis coming back, man. That sucks. You know that the vegans were hoping and praying that something bad would happen to you, and they finally got their wish. That's how sick they are. This hair is pissing me off. There we go. A little twist. Narcissist. Here we go. Vegetable police, you want to come on out? Hold on. We got our guests here, guys. Mark Tassie's here. Let's pop him in. Mark Tassie, welcome to the show. I would like to do a small intro for you. What I do know, you can correct me on anything that I'm wrong. Mark Tassie is a 20-year fruitarian.
How long?
20?
Yeah, about that.
20-year fruitarian. I don't want to get your age wrong. That would be offensive. We've exchanged many words via the internet, via YouTube comments. You've haunted my sleep for months now. We've disagreed on many things. Yeah. I have to say, out of all the people online, Mark Tassie gets my goat the most. He annoys me the most. I disagree with him the most. So, I don't know too much about you. I mean, I do know what you stand for in terms of your general message with your channel and whatnot. And I have questions based on that I would like to cover and go through. And I don't really know how this is going to go today. So, you added me on Facebook a couple weeks ago. You wanted to be Facebook friends. I accepted immediately. And then I said, Mark, you ready for Showtime? And then we made this plan to come on and have this discussion. So here we are. Thank you for coming on and not charging me $500. And let's talk. You basically called for the meeting in my eyes. And I would like to give you the floor on whatever you'd like to talk about.
Okay. Yeah, basically what was our disagreement? Just the approach to diet, right? You're basically on what? A high meat diet now? And,
yes.
That was our disagreement. And I make the claim that humans are frugivorous.
Correct. And I have several questions relating to that, so we can dive in deeper as the interview or the discussion goes on.
Right.
Yeah, definitely one of the things that I disagree with you. I don't believe humans are frugivorous. I believe that there's many reasons why that's not the case, demonstrably not the case.
Yeah.
And, I feel like, your claims about the spoon touching the meat and this and that, I feel like that's blown out of proportion.
Oh, but it's not. It's not.
Okay, well,
no,
I feel like...
I talk about this in videos. When you first start to clean out, you lose a tolerance to these things. But this has been from my experience and apparently from the experience of other people who have been doing this for years. At first, you get brutally sick because it seems like the organs of excretion are overwhelmed by this dumping of the toxins into the blood suddenly, because that's what happens. Basically, the body recognizes a toxin and has no tolerance to it, so it rapidly dumps it into the blood. And when it dumps it into the blood, you get really miserable. You get really sick because it's these toxins free-flowing in the blood. And the organs of excretion can't keep up with it. And it seems as you go on, the body is less encumbered by toxins. It seems that the organs of excretion can more quickly deal with it. So, yeah, I mean, I may not get that brutally ill now, but I'll still have a reaction. If I eat animal products, I'm going to have a reaction. Maybe not as brutal as that, but that was at one point of the journey. That's really what got me as strict as I am, because I just got tired of getting sick.
Could it have been something else, though? I mean, that definition is not going to fly in the mainstream.
No, it's
science.
not going to fly because the mainstream hasn't caught up with it yet. There's very few people who have even taken it that far. Very few people. Most people just bail out. After a few years, my weight, I couldn't keep my weight up either. I mean, people might say I can't keep my weight up now, but it's very difficult for me to lose weight. In the beginning, when I started the raw food diet, when I started the fruit diet, I mean, it was like I was becoming, I would drop so much weight so suddenly. And,
I mean, that makes sense though, right? Like you're probably eating less calories. You're just getting overall less nutrition in general. I mean, like a lot of this stuff adds up.
Well, it's not the case now. I have a hard time losing weight now. I mean, I have to go out of my way to lose weight. It's
why would you try and lose weight now?
Well, just to be leaner,
Can you give us
I can easily gain weight, put it that way, where I couldn't possibly gain weight in the beginning. I mean, I
Why do
can
you need to be
easily
leaner,
gain
though?
weight.
Why do you need to be
Huh?
leaner? Why do you need to be leaner than you are now?
Well, I'm not completely lean. I have some excess body weight.
Okay, so you realize that some people are going to like look at your body now and say, "How could this guy possibly need to lose weight?" Right? That they're gonna
Well,
see
we're talking about muscle
a very
size.
skinny
We're
guy.
not talking about body composition. We're talking about muscle size. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really big. I'm not a bodybuilder. I've been a
Yep.
cyclist for, what is it, 35 years, and I was a runner 7 years before that. So basically, it's not that I've not done strength training. I still do a bit. I'm not doing as much as I have done in the past. But, I have had periods where I was more doing a lot more strength training. And, it's not difficult for me to put on a lot of muscle. It's just that's not my goal.
Do you think you
You
could put
know,
on muscle now if you were
I,
to
for
work out?
sure. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't think it's the issue of the diet. It's just an issue of the type of sport that I do.
Okay,
I
I
mean,
agree that when I cycled,
cycling is going to make you smaller because you're adapting to that type of activity, which I don't necessarily think is a good thing. I think you need to do a balance of strength training, and I should at least supplement what I do with strength training. And
okay.
I think a bodybuilder should supplement what they do with some, cardiovascular type training. It's a good balance. If I'm only cycling, I don't think it's a good balance.
Okay.
You
I
know,
agree. So
but
you're saying you got some extra belly fat or something? Like you're just not happy
yeah,
with the
there's a little
composition?
bit. Yeah, there's a little bit. Yeah,
Can I
it's
tell you
not a
my theory on
lot.
that?
It's there's not a lot of excess fat, but like, I was leaner in Cambodia when I was in Cambodia recently. But that was probably because I had less water retention because it was so hot. I was doing big rides in high heat,
So
which
how? All right. So if the diet has nothing to do with your composition, then how is it that a guy who's consuming, the healthiest diet in the world, right, fruit, you're doing a ton of cardio? My brother actually looked at your Strava and is like, dude, this guy puts in a ton of miles. I think you do it for work, right? If I'm not mistaken.
yeah, I do it for work. Yeah, so yeah.
And also for pleasure. So you're riding tons of miles. You're putting in you're burning thousands of calories a week in cardio. How is it that you are not achieving optimal leanness with all of that effort and the best diet in the world? That's the thing that I don't understand.
It's just I need to eat so much less than I used to. I mean, I just don't drop the weight, like I used to. Part of it could be age, but I wasn't the type of person that was really like lean and skinny when I was younger. I mean, I could get put on weight. The heaviest times I've ever been in my life was when I was 16 and when I was 21. They were the heaviest times. So it's not like, well, I was younger and just would burn everything off. That wasn't the case. It, like yesterday, for instance, in the morning I had about 20 dates and 5 bananas, and I rode 50 miles yesterday, and like that was it. I got home, it was around 10 o'clock, and I wanted to eat, but I really wasn't hungry. I ate, but it wasn't like I felt like, oh, I got to eat, So my body has changed over the years. I think it's just become more efficient. I just think that, the cleaner that the body becomes, the more efficient it becomes. And it's sort of,
Wait, so you ate 20 dates and 5 bananas, you said?
yeah, in the morning. Yeah, that was about 11 o'clock in the morning. And then I rode
So
50
that's
miles.
roughly 1,500 calories. Roughly 1,500, maybe 1,800 on the high end.
Well, it might be a little. They're medjool dates, so they're big dates.
Yeah, those are 50 to 60 calories a pop, and then you had 20 of those. That's 1,000 calories, and then you had 5 bananas. That's 80 to 100 calories.
Yeah, I mean, I did one meal a day. I guess it was a couple of years ago. I did that for an entire year, and I initially dropped about 10 pounds, which I wanted to. I was a little bit on the heavier end, and I got pretty lean, but my weight just stayed there. And that was eating once a day. And I guess maybe I averaged 1,500 to 2,000 calories a day. And that's what I did, 10,000 miles that year on the bike. So, my body has definitely changed. And,
Yeah, because you're burning probably 1,000 calories a day. I mean, that 50-mile ride is easily 1,000 calories.
it's more than 1,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably burned close to 2,000 yesterday.
Yeah, so you're
But
in basically, it's like you ate nothing all day and you're still saying that
yeah,
you're holding on to weight.
yeah, it's, yeah, I mean,
I have a theory for you, and I'd like you to really take this into consideration.
okay.
The whole theory of insulin resistance? Because I do think that plays a large role in this massive amount of fruit that you're intaking. I noticed that I was
I'm not
softer.
eating a massive amount of fruit, though. It's
Well,
like maybe
you're eating all
2 to
fruit.
3,000 calories a day, which for somebody at my level of activity is not that's not that much. And really, uh, insulin resistance, is that what you said? I mean,
Yes.
that's more of an issue of too much fat.
Yeah, but what if you're constantly eating? I mean, you say it's not that much for your activity, but it's still a lot, and it's all sugar. I mean, fruit is basically sugar, and we have guys like I don't know. I'd like to get more into John Rose later. I think you don't agree with what a lot of John Rose says, but
Well, I agree with him as far as what he says about fruit. I believe we're fruit eaters, but no, I don't agree with all this juicing. I think that juicing will definitely cause a problem because it doesn't have the fiber content to slow down the absorption of the sugar. It's
okay.
like it's the fructose hitting the liver just suddenly because there's nothing to slow it down, except for maybe the antioxidants. There's research that shows that even the antioxidants in juice will slow it down to a degree, but it's still too much sugar too suddenly, and it's hard on the liver as far as I'm concerned. I think it's almost criminal the way he's pushing the juicing thing. I don't think he's not doing people any favors by promoting that much juice.
Well, I know that you definitely claim fruitarian, but you don't seem to claim vegan, right? Like you actually don't identify with the vegans. Like you don't really care about the animal aspect of it and all that stuff, right?
What's that?
You're not really concerned with the animal rights aspect and the animal health and
I am,
well-being.
but I don't think we're doing any of this out of compassion. I think we do it out of our nature. I think, my stance is that we're not carnivorous. We became carnivorous, or we added meat to our diet as a means of survival after we migrated out of our natural habitat. You get out onto the savanna, there's no fruit trees. When you migrate north into Europe, there's nothing to eat in the wintertime, probably not a lot to eat in the summertime either. So it was a matter of survival, which got us into this whole hunting thing. I don't think we were ever, we're not natural hunters. We have to invent tools.
But how long ago do you think that happened? I mean, to me, that happened millions
of years ago, probably about 2 million years ago. But, the research shows that Paleolithic man was eating about 100 grams of fiber a day. From the analysis of the fossilized feces.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean a whole lot because, if they're eating raw greens and just whatever they could find, that could
tubers,
be...
probably tubers were really high in fiber because I don't eat that much fiber in a day. On
Right.
my highest caloric days, I'm not eating 100 grams. So obviously they were eating a lot of tubers, a lot of roots.
Yeah.
And,
green leafy vegetables like a...
Well, that doesn't mean that they weren't eating any meat. At some point, our ancestors got into hunting, obviously. But you're talking about a species which, whatever. I mean, various species through our evolution. We've been various species, right? It's not Homo sapien, but a creature. I'm talking about humans. Going back to our ancestors, a creature which has been primate from the beginning, or at least for millions of years, is frugivorous, like all the other primates. It's...
But why do you think humans are frugivorous? Like,
because
we know
we're
that
primates.
The anatomy is...
We have all the characteristics of a frugivorous animal, and and when they've done the research as to classify humans, they do that by mapping the area of absorptive mucosa. This is the research that I read. They map the area of absorptive mucosa in relation to functional body size, and that pretty much makes us frugivorous. For instance, like an herbivore would have a lot more absorptive mucosa in relation to body size because they're eating leaves, which are they're not dense at all in calories, right? So they need more absorptive mucosa, whereas a carnivore has less area of absorptive mucosa because the food that they eat is so dense, they don't need as much absorptive mucosa. Humans are somewhere in the middle, not like we have more absorptive mucosa, area of absorptive mucosa than a carnivore, but much less than an herbivore because a human couldn't survive eating grass or eating, we don't have the means to digest all that cellulose, and plus the volume would be absurd.
I agree with you there.
The mountain gorilla has adapted into a herbivorous diet, and I mean they're huge, right? They're about 400 pounds, but they're eating 150 pounds of greens a day. That's all they do. They eat and they take a nap. They eat, they wake up, they just eat all day, which is ridiculous. Can you imagine? I mean, life would be impossible. Life would be impossible as an herbivore. So, fruit has a lot more calories. So it's doable on fruit. Whereas I think
in modern day,
it's
doable.
Calories.
Mark, in modern day, it's doable to eat fruit year round at 3,000 calories a day.
Well, in our natural habitat, it was.
Where in nature would provide 3,000 calories a day?
In the tropics,
person?
In the tropical jungle.
No.
Yeah.
No.
In Africa, there's all kinds of wild fruits growing.
Those would not provide that type of calorie load.
They would. Yeah, they're not. See, when people look at fruit and say, "Oh, look, it's been hybridized. It was small and sour and dried up," that's temperate climate fruits. Yeah, the temperate climate fruits have all been hybridized, actually, to make them more like tropical fruits, because the tropical fruits have always been that way. I mean, if you do research on wild tropical fruits, they're big, they're sweet, they're voluptuous, whereas the temperate climate fruits were pretty almost inedible. They've been hybridized. Having said that, there's really nothing wrong with hybrids. I don't think there's anything wrong with hybrids. A hybrid is not a GMO, which is obviously not a good thing. So
no, what I'm saying is that in nature, if you were there with your tribe or whatever of 30, 40, 50 people, and you were inhabiting an area, let's say pre-farming days, and you were relying on just nomadic consumption and gathering of fruits, you would not be able to find that much ripe fruit year-round in nature. There's nowhere in the world that exists.
In the non-seasonal tropics, you would, yeah. And other areas, no, which is why we started to eat other things, Once you leave the because the research shows it. I mean, they've done analysis of the teeth. And the research showed with the analysis of the teeth, of fossilized teeth, that our ancestors, going way back, beyond 2 million years, our ancestors were frugivores because, I mean, humans are primates. Humans are basically anthropoid apes. You don't have exceptions in nature. It's not like you take a feline, you're not going to find a feline. There's not going to be one single feline that's an herbivore. They're all carnivores.
You're right.
Canines. You're not going to find a single canine that's not a carnivore. You're going to find a single canine that, this particular species of canine eats grass. No way. They're all going to be meaty. I feed my dog meat, Right. I've had cats that I fed meat. I'm not getting into this whole vegan thing. I'm opposed to that. I'm opposed to forcing some pseudo philosophy on an animal that has no choice. I'm not going to try to make my dog a vegan. This is where I differ with the vegans.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
There's a natural design. That's all I'm interested in.
Same.
And
I just don't think it's frugivore.
I'm not for condemning people for what they eat. You know what I mean? I mean, we had our banter and whatever you want to call it, show business, really. It was a bit much. It was over the top. We would never talk like that face to face, so we shouldn't do it on the internet. But, I've never had anything against you or anybody else who does I did a video praising Sveria, that he has more compassion for humans than the vegans do. Now,
Absolutely.
Whether he does or not, I mean, he's a nutter drinking other people's blood and whatever, but, you know, basically, where I differ with the vegans, my view is humans are the most important species on the planet. We are more important. Where the typical vegan would, I'd be ridiculed for a statement like that. I was freely called me a huge disappointment to veganism when I fed a feral cat a few cans of tuna.
Mm.
So, I don't have a problem with feeding carnivorous animals meat. I think if you have a problem with it, don't have a carnivorous pet, have a hamster, or what Harley does. I mean, Harley says he finds meat scraps for his cats. I think that's a
out
good
of the
idea.
dumpster. Did you catch what I said before you got on about the Vegan Society?
No, I didn't. No.
So the British Dietetics Association, which is what all these vegans love to quote, along with the American Dietetics, they all just parrot each other. By the way, these associations. Once one does it, then the other ones do it. The British Dietetics Association has a close relationship with the Vegan Society, which is a British organization that is obviously a vegan organization. And on their website right now, anybody can go look this up. You can go to their FAQs, and it flat out says on their website that most cats and dogs can eat a vegan diet. Cats and dogs.
Well, I can't agree with that. I mean, a dog would get away with it. A dog would get away with it far more than a cat would. But I still think that even dogs, they're not thriving without meat. I mean, I've tried to feed my dog all kinds of things because when I'm in the kitchen, the dog always wants something to eat. I'll give him a banana. I'll give him mushrooms. Most of the stuff he spits out, but when I feed him meat, he eats it all up.
Yep.
So, the dog, I mean, obviously, this is for the same reason I say that the dog is a meat eater is the same reason I say that humans aren't. Because when you look at their teeth, their whole biological setup, they're obviously meat eaters. I mean,
but what about hold on though, because that's where I think it is the smoking gun to show that we are supposed to eat meat. We are well adapted to eat meat. We have very low stomach acid. We have very narrow intestinal linings. We do not have a fermentation chamber. We do not have a hindgut fermentation chamber. These things point
the fermentation chamber is in strict herbivores. We're not herbivores. I mean, if we are herbivores, we're frugivores, herbivores. We're not.
But
we're
chimpanzees,
not specialized herbivores, and also the research shows. I just want to say this: the research also shows. See, I'm not interested in the research. I do the research for my channel to try to convey this message. So people want to see research. They don't want to hear my anecdotal evidence. They want to see research. So I do the research for that reason. Because I've been convinced that humans are frugivorous long before I started any of this research. But interesting study was that it shows that the frugivorous gut has more flexibility, more adaptivity, which allows a frugivore to eat more different types of things. So, yeah, I mean, a human can eat meat and actually handle it just because that's how a frugivore is set up. We're unspecialized frugivores, meaning we are basically fruit eaters, but unspecialized means that we're not committed to eating only fruit, like say a specialized herbivore is. Like you take a deer, which is a specialized herbivore. They basically are not going to stray from that diet of leaves. Whereas a frugivorous animal, and you see them in nature, they do. Like the chimps are pretty aggressive. I think their meat eating is more their aggressiveness than anything. I just think that they're just warlike and aggressive, as humans really are too. I mean, humans are pretty aggressive and warlike.
Yes. I want to tell you, BBC Earth just put out a video the other day, like 3 days ago, with chimps hunting down smaller monkeys. Mm-hmm. And it's not that they just kill them and leave the body. I mean, they consume every single part.
Oh, yeah, they eat it. Yeah,
they're literally eating the eyeballs and the brains and everything out of the thing. So I think it's a little bit more than just aggression.
When you look at an omnivore like a bear, an omnivore is eating a higher percentage of meat than even a chimp does. And yeah, I mean,
so where do you think that where do you think everybody else is getting it wrong? Like, where do you think ex-vegans like myself are getting it wrong?
Well, I went through a lot of problems in the beginning. The body just needs a time to adapt and cleanse.
What do you mean
And
by the beginning? Because I did it for 4.5 years, so I mean, I
well,
know you say that's a beginner.
That's the beginning as far as I'm concerned. You look at my videos, I keep talking about 7 to 10 years, and everybody, says, "Whoa, I don't have time for that." What, you're talking about generations of straying from our natural diet, and you want to fix it in 3 or 4 years. It's not going to happen. It didn't happen for me. I'm talking about my own personal experience. It took me 7 to 10 years to the point where I would have to, like, even now, I mean, it's for me to lose weight. I really have to go out of my way I can easily gain weight. I probably gained 5 pounds since I've been back from Cambodia. Probably a lot of that has to do with heat. Like if I eat any salt, that's another thing. I'm pretty sensitive to any salt consumption. So I'll retain water eating salt. Probably a lot of it has to do with that. But it took me to the point where I didn't just have to completely stuff myself in an effort to keep my weight up. It took about 7 to 10 years. And then I hear other people saying 7 to 10 years. I say, well, did they look at my video? Other people seem to be coming to the same conclusion. Like you look at it, like Fully Raw Christina. Suddenly around the 8-year period, she couldn't understand why she was gaining all this weight. Suddenly she filled out. She was asking people what's going on here. Nobody could answer her because nobody was doing it for longer than 10 years.
How do you feel about her triglycerides being very high, by the way?
Her what?
Her triglyceride to HDL ratio is one of the best indicators that we have for heart disease these days regarding to blood tests, and her ratio was very high in the video that she did with Garth Davis, and they kind of just glanced over it. Are you
her triglycerides were high?
Yeah,
and
they
what
were like
else was
4
high?
something.
Her LDL?
No. So it's the triglyceride to HDL ratio is your triglyceride number over the top of your total HDL cholesterol. And hers was like 4 point something. And anytime it's over 3.0 is very, very dangerous heart attack range. Like you are definitely doing some damage to your arterial system.
I don't know.
And most vegans are high, by the way, too. So like you got Durian Rider, Vegan Zombie. These guys are all in the high 2s. They're not quite at the 3.0 mark yet, but we do have the blood tests of people like Christina who are way over the 3.0.
Eating too much? I don't know. I know Harley eats Harley's promoting overeating almost. I mean, that's been my main criticism of Harley, is he's promoting just massive amounts of calories. Like for me, once I've had enough sugar, that's enough. Like the 20 dates and the 5 bananas, to eat any more than that would have just been gluttony. I mean, I'm for the whole day, and I came home and ate anyway. But when I ate, it wasn't sweet. I had like cucumbers and tomatoes, like a cucumber pasta. Once I get enough sugar, it is possible that people are over consuming carbohydrates, consuming sugar. I mean, you definitely can't.
I think you can't avoid that on a vegan diet. I think you can't avoid that on any vegan diet. It's very hard to avoid carbohydrates when that's what the food is comprised of.
The body's preferred fuel, It's the body's preferred fuel.
What about Megan Elizabeth? So she was vegan and mostly raw vegan for many, many years. And I would say you're correct. Around that 7 to 8 year mark, she did start experiencing that weight gain situation that you're talking about. But why do we think that's a symptom of your digestion just absorbing enough nutrients versus why isn't it simply insulin resistance and you're actually just putting on too much fat at that point because your body is starting to reject the food that you're eating? What's to say that it's not that? And by the way, once she started consuming the animal foods, she was able to finally drop fat off of her body, noticeably so. Because I live with her and she was really putting in the work as a vegan to lose body fat. Now, she wasn't raw at this point in time. She was like 90% raw, but she wasn't able to lose body fat in any appreciable amount.
Well, I mean, when you drop carbohydrates, you're going to drop a certain amount of hydration
water weight.
Or water retention.
Of course, but we're not talking about water weight. We're talking about significant like muscle mass increase, fat decrease.
She changed the way she trained too, right? I mean,
no. She was working out full on. She was running. She was going to the gym with Christine Salas back when I lived with her. And then since then, she started I don't know what she's been doing exactly, but there's no way she was working out harder than back then. But she's getting way more results now. And she didn't have these adverse reactions that you're talking about. Like when she started eating the animal food, she didn't have, she didn't get sick for days or weeks. And if anything, it helped her every single step along the way. So that's where I'm trying to say is there's definitely anecdotal examples of people having the success that you're, saying that's not possible after 10 years or whatever.
I didn't say it's not possible. I just said you need to eat less. I just need to eat less. Like in the beginning, like if I hit 20 dates and 5 bananas and rode 50 miles, I mean, I'd be withering away to nothing.
Do you feel that, a lot of people look at you, and I'm sure you get comments, and I've said things to you as well, but to me, it looks like you are starting to have that effect.
Well,
it seems you are eating.
I don't know how I could feel this good. I mean, I'm literally on the bike all day, some days close to 100 miles. Okay. And the longer I'm out, the better I feel.
I've looked at old pictures of you, and you look entirely different. You look very, very different. I don't think these pictures are even that old that I pulled up. There's a couple that are on your website, and you look literally like a different person. And I don't know how old those pictures are. If they're 20 years ago, okay, that makes sense. But I don't know how old those pictures are.
Yeah, some of them are old. Yeah. Some of them are probably 15, 20 years old. Yeah. On Facebook, you're talking about.
I think that's on your website. I looked you up on Google yesterday. I can show you the pictures. I have them on my desktop here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sure people would want to see them as well. So let's see here. We got this one.
Oh, that is. How do I look totally different, man? That's just
this
light,
one's similar to
about
now.
10 years ago. That was probably about 10 years ago.
Okay, now let's move on to this one. I hope people can see that.
That was about 20 years ago. But look how lean I was. I mean, but yeah, that's about 20 years
No. You have more full face here than you do now.
Full face? You calling that a full face?
It's more full than now.
No,
I didn't say it's a full
it's not.
face.
It really isn't. It's the light. That's not more full.
How old is this picture?
I was probably around 40 there. 41 maybe, 42.
How old are you now?
58.
Okay. So it's 16, 17 years ago.
That's an old picture. Yeah, that's an old picture.
Okay.
The other one wasn't as old. The other one, that's probably, that's another old picture.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I mean, you realize that you have more cheek mass here, right? Like up in the cheekbones. I don't know how long you'd already been vegan at this point, but definitely you are lean. You're a lean guy, but you're definitely on the thinner, frailer side now. I'm sorry. It's just But
I'm not though. That one's about 10 years old.
You look like a different person almost.
Yeah, but a lot of that has to do with light and whatnot. And I was a different person. That's like at least 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
All right. Okay, so I asked you about Megan, and I wanted to bring her up because I just wanted your opinion on that.
I don't know. It's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to say. I don't know what she's done and how long she's done this or how long she's done that. I can only speak from my own experience, and it's and as far as the body making cholesterol, I haven't had any cholesterol check for a long time. I guess it's been 8 years maybe, but my cholesterol was high the last time.
Do you want to get a really intense blood panel done? I can contact Dave Feldman and he can hook that up for you.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, we can get a good reading on where you're at with everything. It's going to be basically what a professional athlete would get at the highest level. It's like $1,000 blood test. You can get it significantly discounted.
Oh yeah,
I would recommend that. That's what my guys are taking for the vegan to carnivore experiment right now. So they're taking one before they switch diets, and then they're taking one next Friday.
Right.
So I recommend to tune into that just so that you can maybe get a little more information on the blood information. Next, it's going to be like in a week and a half. We're going to have Dave Feldman on. He's like a blood test expert, and we'll have him go through the panel with the vegan to carnivore experiment guys that I'm working with. and then that way,
Right.
you know, maybe we can get you some tests as well.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be you would be an interesting case for him because you've been fruitarian for so many years,
Right.
and he's interested in long-term vegans. He's interested in anybody who's done a consistent diet for a really long time.
Right.
So, one of the things that you talk about in your video, you believe that a more vital and healthy body is actually a more sensitive / weaker body.
Oh, it's not weaker. That's the misconception. It's actually vital because it'll recognize a toxin and throw it out instead of just tolerating it. In order to build tolerance, you have to lower your vitality. The body lowers its vitality in order to tolerate it. When you have a vibrant body, it just, bam, it reacts to toxins. It just reacts to them and throws them out. And what happens when I say throws them out, it has to go into the bloodstream first before the organs of excretion can get rid of them. But like I said, at some point, when the body becomes less burdened and less encumbered, the organs of excretion can function more efficiently. Like I don't get as sick. I won't get as sick from animal products as I did before, but I'll still have a reaction. And that's vitality. It's not storing the toxins. Your body doesn't. Now we store toxins. We all have tolerances to different poisons and toxins. It's a survival mechanism. I mean, if you were sensitive to every single toxin that you encountered, we couldn't, life would be unbearable in a polluted world. So what happens is we build up specific tolerances, you know? So for me, I have little tolerance to animal products. And it used to be really bad. That's what really pushed me over the edge to get rid of the animal products, because I would start to get really sick. And I don't get as sick. It was a couple years ago. I ate like a block of unpasteurized cheese, maybe 6 ounces or 6 or 7 ounces. I was miserable the next day. I was hungover, but not as sick as I would have gotten, like, say, 20 years ago. And so the body is still throwing basically what I gather from this, the body is still throwing the toxins out, but the organs of excretion are more efficiently clearing them out of the blood. The reason you get sick is because the toxins get dumped into the blood before they can leave the body. So it's while they're built up in the blood, that's when you're feeling really miserable. That's when it's like a hangover. The same thing happens if you drink too much alcohol. I have no tolerance for alcohol. You know, like too much alcohol for me would be, you know, I drank
a shot of tequila would take you out.
Well, I'll give you an example. My girlfriend graduated from her English class in Cambodia. This was a year and a half ago. So I drank champagne with her, you know, to celebrate. And it was maybe, I don't know, not quite a full glass. And I took about 4 or 5 hours to drink it. But I felt miserable for the next 3 days. It took me 3 days to sort of overcome that. So there's no tolerance for alcohol because I don't drink it.
Okay.
You know, so that's what happens. And it was the same thing that happened to me with coffee. You know, I thought, oh, coffee's not toxic, because while in the midst of this journey, I was still drinking coffee. I was addicted to coffee for years. And I said, coffee's not that toxic, because if I eat a pizza, I'll get brutally sick, yet I can drink all this coffee and not get sick. So I stopped drinking coffee. And after about 6 months, I went back and had coffee. I was really sick. There was a little bit of cream in it too. So it was probably a combination of the both, but I mean, just brutally sick from drinking coffee, just because I no longer had a tolerance to it.
Yeah, so
I don't know what would happen now. You know, it's been years since I've had any coffee, so I really don't know. You know?
So you're talking about these toxins being stored, and also in one of your videos, you talked about them becoming cancerous.
Well, yeah, I mean, they
can become
the
cancerous.
mechanism of cancer, right?
So, well, I don't think we fully understand that, and I think that might be a leap to make that statement. I'm not gonna say that it is for sure or it isn't, but just want to say anecdotally, and you probably do know this girl, the raw vegan girl who died last year, Megan's friend. She was a raw vegan for 5+ years, and otherwise excellent health.
I know her too. Yeah, Stephanie. I think Stephanie was her name.
Yep.
I don't know the
her.
story. It's really hard to say. I don't know what the story is with that. According to McDougall, and he's done pretty significant research on it, cancer starts years before it actually manifests. Like, it starts as a very tiny little spot, and gradually over the years, it manifests into symptoms, but the cancer had begun years before that. I really don't know. It's hard to talk about other people's histories without having absolute kind of all the data on what they did. But yeah, sure, she died of cancer, which is crazy,
right? And she was in her mid-30s, otherwise very healthy, raw vegan for many years. She wanted to be raw vegan till the end as well, to what I understand. Megan got her eating some protein powders towards the very end, and it was able to help her maintain some strength and gain some weight back at the very, very end. And it did help her, but it was a stretch to even get her to do that. So, but anyway, so I just wanted to point out that there's guys like Dr. Fung, who he's a doctor in the keto movement. Sorry. He's a doctor in the keto movement. He talks about, these urea kidney association with all this toxic waste and stuff like that. I feel that has been thoroughly debunked as far as the amount of, toxins in the meats and stuff like that. I feel like that's a bit overblown.
Well, debunked by who, and I'm just going by my own experience, it got to the point where I just couldn't eat these animal products anymore. And it wasn't that long into it, really. You're talking like 20 years ago, I started to have these experiences. And I remember in the very beginning, when I would do the fruit diet, I would start to go through some kind of detoxification. And then I would eat a piece of bread, and the detoxification would just stop. It would just stop it. But then after I got to a certain point, nothing would stop it. It just had to run its course. And it was pretty brutal, pretty miserable. But the other thing about it is, too, after you get through that, you feel incredible. You just feel like, whoa, I feel.
Is it a case, though, that you've gotten so sick and just feeling okay for a day is like, oh, thank God? It's like when you've been rained on for weeks,
it's like
you feel
like
sun.
Superman, which is how I feel most of the time now. Just ferocious, man. Like when I'm on the bike, like a friend of mine, he was a competitive cyclist, and he's around my age. He's really overweight now. He stopped his cycling, and he says, oh, I'm starting to feel like nervous out there on the road. He says, how do you feel? I said, ferocious. It's just this ferocity, this vitality. It's just fearless, man, which comes from vitality. You just have no fear, and just the feeling of this joy, just a joy to be alive. I mean, that's good. If I were having problems, I think I wouldn't have this feeling like, I can't wait to go to work. This is the first job I've ever had where I couldn't wait to go to work. I just can't wait to get out there. I got an S-Works, specialized S-Works, like a $10,000 racing bike.
I saw your bike. Yeah, it's nice.
It's just, man, just the feeling of being out there. But I am trying to do more strength training, and I have done more strength training in the past, because I think it's a good balance. I think what got me away from all the strength training was Harley, watching too many of his videos, where at one point Harley was saying, I just upper body weight just slows you down on the bike. But, unless you're in the Tour de France, it really doesn't matter. We really should have more of a balance. And now he's weight training, right? After all
and
that.
And he's on steroids.
Huh?
And he's on steroids.
You think he is?
Well, he did admit to it late. He said the latest was end of 2017. So that's not too long ago. It's only a year and a half ago.
It's hard to say with Harley, It's hard to say. Harley's a good guy as far as I'm concerned. He's helped me a lot. He's given me a lot of advice on cycling advice and whatnot. I think he's basically a good guy, but I don't agree with everything that he says, either.
I wanted to bring it back.
Go ahead.
Hang on. I wanted to bring it back, though, because we're talking about the, getting sort of like a hangover from something that you eat.
Yeah.
And it was my experience as a vegan that over time, my options got less and less and less. And I'm sure somebody with your perspective may say, okay, well, you're becoming more sensitive, which is a good thing. You're becoming more vital, which is a good thing. But at some point, don't you just whittle down all your food options to basically nothing? Like I know in a
No,
video,
I mean,
well, hang on.
yeah, I
You
mean,
said that you can't eat dried fruits or nuts. So, I mean, those are pretty basic
I
things.
do, but if I eat too much, eat too much of either, I'll get a hangover too, because
Yeah.
they're so dense. They're so dense. So basically, I feel best on high water content foods,
Okay.
and the nuts I try to minimize. Although I do eat some nuts, I've switched back to walnuts because I was go. I make these salad dressings with nuts or seeds.
Mhm.
And it's like basically it's a nut or seed blended with orange and lemon or lime juice is what I do. So I was using sunflower seeds because they're a lot cheaper than walnuts, but they're so high in omega-6. See, that's another problem that people have. I think that I know a lot of vegans, their omega-6 to omega-3 ratios so skewed because they're relying on too many nuts, too many. Yeah, you get in the vegetable oils and nuts. There was a guy on John Kohler's channel where he had a stroke and he was like a raw vegan for so many years, but you knew he was one of these high fat raw vegans.
Mm.
And as far as I'm concerned, he was probably eating way too many nuts, way too much omega-6, because most nuts and seeds will give you way too much omega-6, except for walnuts, which is why I've gone back to walnuts. And flax and chia are really high in omega-3. But I think, the dangers of a typical vegan diet is too much omega-6 from too many nuts or oils even. And, people run low in B12 too. That's another problem, which could present a cardiovascular risk if you go low in B12. But I don't think the low
Also mental,
B12 is
right? Mental
necessarily
risk.
inherent with the diet. I never had trouble with it until about 10 years ago when I nearly killed myself. I ran really low in sodium, and that seemed to trigger a B12 deficiency. So I needed shots for a while. But before that, I'm talking about a month before that, I was feeling incredible. It wasn't until after the experience. I was in the with all the sweating I do, I mean, now I recognize the symptoms right away. If I start to go low in sodium, I recognize the symptoms right away. But that's another thing too. I found that the less salt you eat, the more resistant you are to becoming low in sodium, because you get like a salt conserving machine when you're not eating any salt. When you're just getting your sodium from plants, the body becomes like a salt conserving machine.
So everything is like
But
the opposite. And in the fruit, that's the thing I have. I have a problem with that in the fruitarian mindset. Like everything is the opposite. Like you get sick, it's actually a good thing. If you don't eat salt, then you become a salt conserver.
I don't
It's
think
like,
it's a good thing to
well,
get sick.
it's all theory.
But, huh?
It's kind of all theory. That's not really the way that we would
Yeah.
generally want our day to go.
Most people haven't. You're talking about doctors and scientists. They haven't even scratched the surface of this.
Oh, I agree with you.
These are things, and it's not really sick. I mean, it's a difference between, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. After I went low in sodium, I mean, fatally low in sodium, I knew I was going to die that night. I called 911, and it was the first time I gave up salt in my life, so I made some drastic mistakes. One thing I was doing was eating humongous amounts of watermelon, which was just flushing my sodium level. Plus, I was doing these huge rides in the heat because I really thrive in the heat. I like hot days, which part of that is probably my diet too. I probably have a lower body temperature than the typical person because of my diet. But where was I going with this? The sodium thing. Yeah, I forget what I was talking about. What was I talking about?
Talking about thriving in the heat, talking about sodium resistant, or building a sodium machine, sodium conservation machine.
Well, yeah. I mean, you conserve sodium when you don't eat salt, because the body is recognizing the salt as a toxin, so it tries to get rid of it. You stop producing aldosterone. But when you don't eat salt, you just get sodium from plants. The body is always trying to utilize that and conserve it.
Okay.
because we did come up through evolution as being sodium conserving machines. We had a diet which was extremely high. I mean, if you're going to subscribe to the theory that we were frugivores, and the research shows that we were, maybe not we, but our early ancestors, our predecessors, were basically frugivorous. It was very low in sodium, very high in potassium. So we're able to excrete potassium at a very quick rate, but sodium, which is why people run into trouble when they eat too much salt, just because our bodies aren't designed to have that much salt. Definitely not salt, but even that much sodium. Although we can tolerate sodium from plants a lot more easily, which is why you retain water when you eat salt. I mean, I retain water really easily from eating salt. That's probably the reason why I've had weight gain since Cambodia, because it hasn't really been that warm here except for the past couple of days. So if I eat any salt, and I've gotten back into the habit of eating some salt, which I was completely off the salt altogether for years. But now since I've been working on the bike, I'm more near some of these gourmet raw restaurants, and I eat there. But if I eat a little bit of salt, it pretty much, it'll put maybe 5 pounds on me of water retention.
Well, let's talk about something a little more, let's say, tangible.
Okay.
Let's talk about teeth. This is a huge, to me, it's the Achilles heel of the raw and especially the fruitarian diet.
Yeah, well, there's definitely, I've run into trouble with that too. And I find that you can't eat frequently. You can't eat like 1 or 2 meals a day, and that's it. No snacks. Definitely no more than 3 meals a day. And I think this is the problem that people have, and I've had this problem, is grazing will kill your teeth. I don't know if you'd even want to graze on a diet of animal products. It's just it's too dense. You eat it and that's it. You're good for a while.
You don't really need to.
But to graze on, fruit and that type of thing, it's going to be tough on the teeth. And I've had problems because of that.
Well, think about it. Like if we're in nature, right, and we have no toothbrushes, and we're just eating bananas off the trees and coconuts and all this other stuff, we'd lose our teeth within like a couple years of eating that way. So how can we possibly
if the fruit is tree ripened, which it would be, there'd be a lot less, acid in the fruit. And we probably wouldn't be grazing all day. We'd probably feast on the tree that we found, and that would be it until we found another tree.
Yeah, but that wouldn't last that long. We'd be eating all day.
From my experience, eating too frequently is hard on the teeth. So I say,
I agree.
1 to 2 meals a day, 3 max, with absolutely no snacks. You got to allow a certain number of hours because the saliva realkalizes the mouth. And I've
heard all this stuff, but it wasn't.
I've gone years with no trouble with the teeth, but also I have had problems with the teeth when I either, I had to give up pineapples because they're just too acidic. I had problems with eating pineapples because they're just too acidic. If they're not ripened on the plant, and you can't get them ripened on the plant, it's pretty tough to get them ripened on the plant if you're not in the tropics. So, I gave up pineapples, and really the discipline is to not graze, not to just to eat meals and that's it. And then I haven't had too much trouble with that. That to me, the secret to do it is to just eat 1 or 2 meals, no more than 3, no snacks, no grazing. Try to make sure your fruit is as ripe as you possibly can get it. And if you're not going to do that, you better have really good hygiene, because constantly having that sugar and acids on the teeth without allowing the saliva to realkalize the mouth is going to cause problems for sure. And, I think that's where people are running into trouble. They're grazing rather than eating meals. And for sure. But, it's complicated with the fact that our fruit is not picked ripe. It's not tree ripened.
It's
And
additional wear and tear.
yeah, so that's the problem. It's the fruit's not tree ripened, so you'd better not be grazing on that stuff. And if you do, you better be really strict. After I had trouble with the pineapple, I was really careful. So I was after every time I ate, and this is a difficult ritual to keep up, but I got into the habit. After every time I ate, I rinsed with baking soda and water. And the next time I went to the dentist, the dental hygienist didn't even have anything to clean off. And I know that was because of the baking soda. The baking soda kind of just makes everything lift off the teeth. Nothing was clinging to my teeth. But I don't even think that's necessary if you're just eating meals, like just not frequent eating. That's what I think people are having trouble. I've had trouble doing that in the past. I've also had success. Like when I was eating once a day, it's like I didn't even hardly even have to brush my teeth. It was like the body just takes care of it, but not if you're eating all the time. So that's, probably, well, like I said, when you're eating your diet, you have no desire to graze, but I think there's more of a tendency to graze on a diet like this, especially if you're having a hard time keeping your weight up and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But, from my experience, the weight is that's not a problem. Getting enough calories is not a problem for me. I mean, I could eat 4,000 calories if I wanted to.
In one sitting?
No, in two meals, I could probably eat 4,000 calories or close to it. But I don't need to eat that much.
Yeah, of course not. Because you're saying that even with 1,500 to 2,000 calories a day, you're still keeping the same weight, even with a lot of activity.
Yeah, but yesterday I did have a second meal. So I probably had maybe 2,500 calories, yesterday. I didn't, I did that for a year. I weighed everything and put it in the chronometer just to get an idea of what was going on.
Have you seen any type of, are you noticing any type of mental decline in fruitarians or vegans at all?
I don't know, but for myself, no.
Yeah.
Just the opposite, just really, just the, just a feeling of vitality, fearlessness. And maybe it's just me, I am on some kind of a spiritual path that probably has a lot to do with it. Where, your idea is to give more than you take. I mean, our approach to life, life is not just about diet. Most of my friends are meat eaters, and I'm involved with a spiritual organization, and most of them eat meat. There's like not a single vegan over there. And as far as their philosophy, and I agree with it, is that it's really not so much what you eat, but what you do with the
Hare
energy.
Krishna?
And
is it Hare Krishna organization?
no.
Oh, okay.
No.
That's actually a good segue to the next question I wanted to ask you, which was, what do you think is the most important aspect of health besides diet, besides nutrition, let's say?
Physically, you mean?
Well, physically, maybe spiritual practices, anything like that?
Yeah, sleep for sure. I mean,
okay.
People neglect sleep in our society, which really, I think a lot of the reason I feel so good now, it has more to do with the fact that I go to bed when I'm tired. Well, I work late a lot, but I get up when I'm ready to wake up. I don't wake up with an alarm anymore. And that's just, I think my vitality has increased leaps and bounds since I gave up the job where I had to wake up. The alarm would go off at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'd be in the middle of a dream. I can't see that being good for your well-being, your mental or physical well-being.
I agree.
It's probably worse. It's probably worse mentally than it is physically, but it has to have a detrimental effect on both. So sleep is number one. I also do like deep breathing exercises. Breath really is the most important thing, right? So, deep breathing is really important for vitality. It's more important than what we eat, right? Actually, breath is the most important, then drinking, then eating. The thing about the way
on how you
I
look at it.
eat, the thing about the way I eat is I'm drinking and eating at the same time because the food is so high in water content.
Right.
And it's, well, apparently the fruits, I mean, the water from fruits and vegetables are more hydrating than water. But I also charge my water in the sun. I put it in blue bottles and I let it sit in sunlight to kind of revitalize it. Sunlight, that's another thing. People don't get enough sunlight. So sleep, sunlight, deep breathing, but just an attitude of service, to give, and whatever that means to the individual. If that means volunteering, if that just means being kind, to people, but just a feeling of family, like my father, he's always worried about the neighborhoods I'm going into. I said, these people are my family. They're not going to attack me because I'm their family. Maybe they don't think that, but I believe that they feel that from me. I believe they feel that I regard them as my own. And I said to my father yesterday, I said, nobody's going to attack their own. I mean, there might be some really mentally deranged people that would kill their own family. I said, but most people are not going to attack their own. I believe that there is this interchange of energy between all things that we're not even conscious of. Like it happens on a super conscious level or a subconscious level. And, I believe that, all things respond to that, respond to that type of regard. If you regard another as your own, they're going to feel that, even if it's on a subconscious level. And I think that's probably the most important thing in life. It's far more important than diet, far more important whether you eat meat or you eat fruit, which at the end of the day, we're probably extreme in our, approach. Nobody's puts this much attention into their lifestyle, right? I mean, we're kind of in the minority.
Yep.
Your approach is different than mine, but it's still hardcore. You know what I'm saying? We're both pretty hardcore as far as health.
Yep.
Which puts us in the minority. I mean, we're both seeking the truth, right? Whatever that is, we're going to find it sooner or later because the truth is the truth. It's not like my truth. My truth. That's another thing too. Make your life devoted to the truth. Whatever it is, and it's not mine or yours, it just is. So we're on this journey to find truth and help others to find the truth. That's the thing. We try to bring others with us, unless we're leading them on the wrong path, and that's a different thing entirely.
Well, thank you for that explanation. I hope that people in the audience caught that. So this concludes my, humongous list of questions for you. I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to ask me. Other than that, we can open it up to the chat. There's some pending questions going on in the chat.
Well, what I'd like to know what you're doing. Is it strictly? I think you said one time that you're not just having animal products. You still have carbohydrates.
Sure. Yeah, I'm very flexible now, and for me, it's the opposite approach that you've taken. Whereas, I think that the stronger I get, the more variety of things I'm able to handle. So for me, and digest them well. So I eat all kinds of stuff. I eat candy bars sometimes. I was recently drinking soda up until a few days ago. I stopped. It's messing my teeth up, so I had to stop.
That stuff is really acidic, especially cola.
Absolutely, it's terrible. It's about the same as orange juice for those that don't know. So I can eat anything. I can eat tortillas. I eat beans and rice. I eat fruit. I've been eating a lot of berries. I've been buying a lot of berries. So I always have some blueberries or strawberries with my lunches and dinners now. And I eat about twice a day.
Go ahead.
And I try and eat raw milk. So a perfect day for me is raw milk with about 3/4 pound of meat for lunch with some berries on the side. And then this basically the same thing for dinner. Two meals a day. To me, I'm going to be getting stronger. I'm going to be gaining weight in a healthy way. I'm going to be feeling very energized. I'm not going to want for anything basically at that point. Yeah. It's the evolution of where my diet's gone.
Well, you're doing a lot more weight training now, right? You're not doing a lot of bike riding anymore.
No, yeah, no bike riding. I would imagine that if I was doing really hardcore, intense, full gas bike rides, that I would need more carbohydrates. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
My brother's actually been looking into potentially going keto and just trying it out and seeing how it works for him, because he's been performing really well on a bike. But I mean, he eats a very, wide open omnivore diet. So, and he doesn't prepare for anything. I mean, he just did like a 60-mile ride the other day, no preparation whatsoever, no pre-carb loading, nothing. He did cramp up, but he did complete the ride. Other than the cramping, he was fine. He didn't bonk or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the body can use fat as a source of energy for sure.
Yeah. I like the low carb approach, the really low carb approach. And see, the thing about this diet, to me, what I find is that the further away I get from it, the more I appreciate it. So I go back to it. Whereas like as a vegan, I left that diet, I left that way of eating, and there's no way I can think of there's no reason in my mind that I would go back to eating that way based on the way that I feel now, based on the way that I felt as a vegan.
Well, when you say vegan, what were you doing? I mean, that's a pretty broad term. I was doing a lot of starches.
I was doing basically a raw till 4 approach with a lot of additional protein powder. I was doing soy milks in my protein smoothies.
Right.
I was doing lentils and stuff like that for dinner. Beans, rice, that type of a thing for dinner.
Right.
And 3,000 to 3,500 calories a day, I would say on average. And I was working out back then, and I was able to put on weight, but I was gaining more fat than muscle mass by a long shot. I was getting way too soft for the amount of weight that I was gaining. Whereas I had done the same thing as a omnivore, and I was able to put on much more muscle mass in relation to the fat ratio. So in other words, you can get a lot stronger without putting on the fat as a meat eater, from what I've seen. Or, just in general, from getting a lower carbohydrate diet. Now, if you can manage that same macronutrient ratio as a vegan, then maybe you can pull that off too. But then there becomes the nutrient deficiency situations long-term, digestion issues long-term.
What nutrient deficiency? I mean, like if you look at my chronometer videos, I mean, everything is just through the roof. Especially, if I'm eating like sweet fruits and non-sweet fruits.
Yeah, my chronometer was insane, man. My chronometer was off the charts with everything. I have a whole video on it. For the last year and a few months and change.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was eating a very wide variety of everything. Lots of local, exotic, tropical, not exotic, but lots of local organic fruits in Hawaii when I was living there.
Right.
I mean, I had a perfect cooked food vegan diet. I didn't have a frugivore diet, but I had a perfect cooked food vegan diet with a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
so you were
no
eating
expenses spared,
starches
man.
too.
Starches gave me the worst digestion out of everything. The two things that are worse for me are starches.
I think that most vegans are eating too much starch. It's the fiber.
But they love potatoes,
too coarse.
Yeah, I agree. I have really bad digestion, or I did have really bad digestion eating potatoes. Is one of my trigger foods. And then I'd say right below that was like nuts, and then maybe, basically the top was potatoes, then nuts, and then maybe, I don't know, lentils or something like that. And spices. So spices would really give me IBS type symptoms a lot of times, depending on what they were.
Yeah, well, spices are really harsh on the bowels too. They're just they're too irritating.
But let's compare that to now. Let's compare that to how I eat now. Let's say I eat 1 pound of ribeye with a glass of whole milk, right? That's raw whole milk. That meal will digest so perfectly and provide me with so much lasting energy that I couldn't want for anything more. It takes me 6 to 8 hours to eat my next meal because I'm not even hungry yet. Then I go and eat that next meal and I'm good to go till the next day. Intermittent fasting is a breeze. My muscular performance so far has been very good. I've been able to lose body fat and maintain muscle mass. I didn't gain John Venus type mass in the past 6 months of working out, but then again, I wasn't training the way that he does either. So if I wanted to go on that type of protocol, I could get a lot bigger, and I will start doing that very, very shortly here, because I'm starting to get back on the milk and eating in a caloric surplus, and that's just what's going to happen. I'm going to gain body mass and muscle mass. And my digestion is flawless along the way as well, which is a big deal to me, obviously.
Yeah, digestion is important. Yeah. Well, if it's working, do it.
That's what I say to vegans. If it's working, do it. I just like to point out things, you know, like we took a look at your pictures and things like that. You know, it's just like sometimes time slips away from us and we don't really see the track record of things. You know, like as a vegan, for instance, I thought I was doing really great up until about the 2-year mark. That's when I started, because I was a cyclist. I thought I was a badass. The picture that I have in my thumbnail here with you, that's like one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken. And I was cycling. I just got done with like a 40-mile ride in the heat. I was all tan. I loved it. I was crushing 35-mile rides with 4,000 feet of elevation, like week after week, just 100 miles a week, just smashing it, 10,000 feet of elevation a week. Really crushing it with a sick bike, and I loved it. But when I stopped cycling, because I got a cycling injury that did not heal, which I do blame on the vegan diet partially, then I kind of started getting all this little soft belly fat. And then I was like, whoa, what's going on here? My digestion got worse and worse and worse. And it never was good, but it got worse at the time that I wasn't cycling because I was still eating quite a high amount of calories. And then, you know, just one day I was like, man, I got to fix this thing. So then I did the juice fast. And then that led me into, you know, trying raw for 30 days. And I didn't like that. That was the worst digestion I ever had. Then I moved to Hawaii. I tried whole food plant-based. I did that for 6 months. I actually had really good digestion, but I could not gain a pound of muscle mass. It was so weak. I could not gain back the mass that I had lost. So I was stuck at like 135, 136 pounds. Then I moved to my more, you know, elite later year vegan diet where I was consuming the peanut butters and the soy milk and the protein powder. And yes, I was able to put on muscle mass, but I gained too much fat then and I had really bad digestion. Libido started going down the drain at the very end. Yeah, just all the things. Tooth issues were terrible. I was drinking a bunch of orange juice. My teeth were just falling apart. So yeah, that's where I was at with that.
Right.
Now, somebody did ask in the chat regarding vision, you know, because you wear glasses, obviously. So people were asking, do you notice any decline in vision? Have you always had glasses? Like, is there anything related to that?
These are just reading glasses. They're just magnifiers.
That person is a vegan, by the way, that asked that question. So,
well, I noticed the decline in my vision. It started when I was around 40. So 42, 43, you know, slight decline. Kind
of around the same time that that you started veganism, right? Although we're not going to blame that. People blame my gray hair on me going carnivore. And I said, no, guys, if anything, the last couple of years of veganism accelerated this. And since going carnivore, it's just the same. I mean, that path has continued. It's not like it's reversed it, but, you know, shit happens. I've been going gray since my early 20s, so you can't blame everything on the diet.
I think gray hair is just heredity, you know?
Same. Pretty much, for the most part.
I mean, same with baldness. I think it's heredity, you know?
Someone said, Drew, he is a good person. It's just the fruitarian lifestyle is not sustainable long term. Well, he's doing it for 20 years, and he likes the way he feels. So who are we to say that?
I like the way what? What do I like?
You like the way you feel. So who are we to tell you how you feel?
Come on. That's why I challenged you, you know, to that bike ride. I was like, if anybody could get up to the top of Baldy from the village to the ski lift, they're not physically degenerated. I mean, it's...
By the way, what kind of bicycle are you riding up there? Because I would imagine that you're riding a triple crank mountain bike gearing to get up there.
No. It's double.
You're double cranking.
Compact crank. Yeah, my lowest gear right now is 34 by 32. I used to have 34 by 34.
Yeah.
But Shimano's not making a 30. Well, you probably can still find them. I had a 34 on the
You
back.
give me your bike, I'll make it to the top of Baldy.
Huh?
You give me your bike right now with that gearing, and I'll make it to the top of Baldy.
Okay. Yeah. You probably could. The point is I can.
Okay.
That's the point. I'm not saying that whether you can or not. The point is that I can. And that was the point I'm trying to make.
All right.
Because it's a pretty brutal climb. And
it is.
Look, you know, I'm not trying to prove anything. I feel pretty incredible. You know, I'm never tired. That's one of the things, you know.
Are you sugar high though? Because I did notice that when I was eating a lot of fruit as well, I did always feel kind of a buzz of energy, but it was always associated with me eating. Like a couple hours later, I did not feel that same buzz.
I ate at 11 o'clock, and then I didn't eat again till 10 o'clock. And when I ate at 10 o'clock, it was like, you know what? I should just go to bed because I really don't even need this. But, you know, I
I
like
haven't
to
eaten
eat.
anything today, by the way.
Huh?
No, I haven't eaten anything today, by the way. Just a couple sips of water. No caffeine, no nothing.
I was not going to eat today, but I did have dates. I blended up dates
So you got to always
because
be sipping something. I'm telling you,
no, I
that's how
don't always have to eat something. No, I mean I could go about 75 miles on the bike without any food. I've done that
Wow.
many
Wow.
times. Many
Okay.
times.
Somebody said Drew Mark had libido decline per his video about Tim Sheaf. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I had all that in the beginning. I think it's just absorption. In the beginning, you're not absorbing the raw food. That was I embraced it though. I embraced that. To me, it was a blessing. I thought I was becoming more spiritual. Actually, it was just that I wasn't absorbing the food properly.
So you started absorbing more, and then you got hornier.
Unfortunately,
Why
or
is that unfortunate?
fortunately, however you want to look at it. I'm looking at this from a spiritual point of view, and I heard you talking to Bobby about this. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not the only person who feels this. I mean, that the conservation of your sexual energy is good for the body. It's good for the mind and the body. No doubt. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I'm not the only. There's other people saying this now too. It's sort of catching on, but this has been in the yoga tradition, the ancient yoga tradition. It's said that you really can't get very far on the path without being completely abstinent. So when my libido dropped, I just said, "Wow, I got this licked," because I'd been trying to be abstinent in those days. So
I can somewhat understand where you're coming from, because I feel like at some point men want to overcome in their life the uncontrollable draw towards the opposite sex. They want some sort of control over it.
it's slavery, really. You're a slave to yourself. Basically, we're here to detach. We're here to learn detachment. And sex is probably the last detachment, the last attachment.
I have just accepted that it's a part of life now. It feels better this way.
Of course, it's a part of life, but let's face it, it's a part of life which is intended for procreation.
Okay. Ashley says, I have a genetic polymorphism that cannot convert beta carotene into vitamin A, so I have to eat animal foods. Vitamin A is...
Yeah, go ahead.
Vitamin A is incredibly important. What does Mark Tassie have to say about that?
Well, that she'd be extremely rare. Extremely rare. And as far as my diet is concerned, there's so many carotenoids in my diet. Even if my conversion rate was of a small percentage, I'm getting so much carotenoids in my diet. Where if you ate a strict diet of grains and beans, for instance, rice and beans, there's not going to be enough carotenoids in your diet to convert it into usable vitamin A. But she would be rare. That would be a rare genetic defect. There's not many people. But if that's what you are, you got to do what you got to do. You either have to supplement or you have to eat animal products.
Yeah, do agree there. Let's see. A lot of people are saying vegans are low libido, but
well, I'm not anymore. But I think I don't know. When I ate cooked vegan, there wasn't the problem. Like when I was on the fruit in the beginning, it dropped off. But then when I went back to cooked vegan, it came right back.
Would you ever, for the sake of science, and I guess I know you're not interested in proving people wrong, so there's no motive there. But let's say you were one of these guys in this experiment that I did, the 30 days carnivore to vegan experiment, where they basically flip-flop diets for 30 days. Like, what do you think would happen if you were to go straight carnivore tomorrow?
I don't know. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could tolerate it at this point.
Are you curious what would happen? Like, what if you did it? Let's just go through a hypothetical. What if you did it, and what if you felt amazing benefits? You felt extremely strong. yeah, other things started to happen. And by the way, that whole thing you said about supplementing strength training and with your cardio training, to me, that is actually something that comes from having the ability to do those things. In other words,
Oh, but I have the ability to do it.
Yeah, but it's a drive.
If we went into the gym, man, and we would say, let's see how long we can go, I'd be surprised if you could go longer than me. I mean, really. I mean, I got weights on the floor. I got them on the floor so that I'll use them.
Yeah.
And when I thought I had a knee injury, I say I thought because it was actually sciatica. When I do steep hills, sometimes I pull my lower back.
Okay.
I got to be careful because you're grinding up the really steep hill, and that can irritate the sciatic nerve. And I was feeling it in the knee. So at the end of last year, I took 9 weeks off the bike. So, I'm going nuts because I do have an endorphin addiction. So what I would do is I would do push-ups and sit-ups like nonstop. Push-up, sit-up, push-up. In a few weeks, I was up to like 85 push-ups, and I was heavier than I am now. I could easily get up to, within a month, I could get up to 100 straight push-ups. So, I mean, getting strength.
Can we get a little flex?
Is
I got to see where I'm at. I actually haven't worked out in 2 weeks, so I'm starting to fade here. I'm feeling like I'm fading here.
2 weeks.
2 weeks I haven't worked out.
What's the reason for that?
I have some sort of weird chest pain on my left side, directly where my heart is, and I'm sure all the vegans in the audience are like, definite heart disease from your meat. 2 days later.
No, that sounds like a muscle pull. That's what that sounds like.
It's some kind of a costochondritis, something like that. Whatever that is called. I got it.
What I would like to do is get hardcore back into weight training and just show people. I mean, Ted Carr is showing what you can do on a fruit diet.
Yeah,
you said he supplements, but I think he's supplementing vitamin D, which
but he's gaining a bunch of fat. He's gaining a bunch of fat. And he is getting stronger.
Fat. He's lean.
No, he's not. Ted is putting all kinds of fat on. That's why he's doing a cut right now.
Well, he's
doing
probably eating. He's probably eating too much.
He has to, because otherwise he's not going to gain any muscle mass at all.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I don't really see the point in putting on excess muscle mass. I mean,
I don't either. I'm not saying it needs to be
functional.
I agree with you. We don't need to look all like bodybuilders. We don't all need to look like John Venus. But we need to have some functional, or we can put on healthy muscle mass and enjoy ourselves and be physical with our bodies.
Yeah.
But my point is,
back in the day when I decided to get serious about weight training. This was a long time ago. My father was telling me to stop. He said, "You're getting too big. You're getting too big." And this was like really serious.
How long ago was that?
I was like my early 30s, so it was over 25 years ago. 25 years ago. And that was basically I never completely gave up animal products until a certain point, but like if I ate 1% of my diet from animal products since my early 20s. And when I was 21 is when I stopped eating red meat. And then it was just very little amounts of animal products until I got to a certain point where I just gave it all up. I think the last thing I was having was goat dairy. I think that if people want to have dairy, I think goat is a better choice than cow. Because it's more similar in composition to human milk than is cow's milk. So I was having some goat dairy, and I got that from Norman Walker. I read in one of his books that goat dairy wasn't mucus forming, he said. Well, I was big into the mucus-free thing back in the 90s. I was influenced by Arnold Arett.
Yeah.
And Arnold Arett didn't feel that you needed to be 100% raw. He felt that, a lot of 100% raw fooders were extreme, and he felt they were eating way too many nuts, like doing things for the sake of just being raw. And I find I do that too, sometimes. Like I'll go to one of these raw gourmet restaurants because the cult will excuse that. Where if I ate potatoes, the cult, they would, oh my God, Tassi, he ate cooked food, It's like you're influenced by this cult mentality. I'll admit
Yeah.
it. And I think if I ate 5 pounds of potatoes, it would be a lot healthier than a lot of this gourmet raw stuff. The
Yeah.
gourmet raw is too high in salt. It's too high in, I don't know what they're using, but it's pretty dense stuff.
So you're really involved in a lot of those like deep underground sort of like mucus free movements and these things. And I feel like a lot of people have gone through that and have left that. And there's not that many people still doing that stuff or promoting it these days.
I think
like you're a blast
for
from the
me,
past, you know?
It's the way to go because of
I think so.
just the ease of digestion, the ease of bowel movements. That's what I was getting at when I forgot my train of thought. When after I went low in B12, I firmly believe it was triggered by this traumatic experience of almost dying from being low in sodium. Because like I said, before I had that experience, I felt great. But about 3 weeks after I went through that experience, then I started to notice the mental anomaly, which I went through severe depression for over 2 years, almost 3 years. And then I finally discovered it was because my B12 level was low. But it all started back to that time when I almost died from the low sodium. So I was doing B12 injections. I mean, when you need B12 and you do an injection, you feel like the feeling of invigoration, like the exhilaration, like you feel like you've been fired out of a cannon. It's just like, whoa, it's just incredible. Like I went from absolute deep suicidal depression to absolute feeling of well-being and joy with 2 B12 shots. This was, but anyway, at some point I said, these B12 shots, I don't like relying on supplements. So I'm going to go back to eating animal products. So I did, and I felt pretty miserable. I went through the hangover bit. And then, after about a year of experimentation of adding animal products back in, which was mostly goat dairy and fish, although I did have some cow dairy too. But then I got the worst flu. Like I hadn't had a flu in nearly 20 years. Then I was just on my back for 2 weeks. I was off the bike for a month. And this was back in 2013, I think. And somebody said to me, do vegans even get the flu? And I was like, bingo, that's what happened. I was experimenting with these animal products and I just got brutally sick. That is sick, Although I do believe that all illnesses, colds and flus, are some sort of detoxification. And I think if you don't need to go through that detoxification, you won't get a cold, you won't get a flu. That's been my experience. I mean, it was 20 years since I had a flu and I haven't had one since. Plus, I got these 2 little black marks on the top of my head.
What's that about?
Well, that was right after the animal product experiment, like 2 dark brown spots, which I said, what is that, skin cancer? But they haven't grown. They've actually shrunk. So that's some of my experience with animal products. I've been on this journey for a long time, so it's not like I haven't tried different things. I mean, I am open to doing different things, but I'm doing what I feel works best. But I think the number one, like you said, is the teeth. If you're not really careful, people have a tendency to graze on this diet, and I think that's the number one, the worst thing you can do is graze. Whereas on the type of diet that you're doing, it's more dense. So yeah, you're like, but I'll tell you, it gets to the point where even these meals start to feel dense. Like you get used to having like a low fat kind of diet. Like I had these dates and that's it. I won't eat until tonight, easily. I'll go 10 hours and I'll be riding the bike, after we get done here, I'm going to go to work. So I'll be doing at least 50 miles today. But yeah, you got to be careful. And you got to be careful with the teeth. But like I said, the grazing, I think, is the worst thing for the teeth.
All right. If anybody has any questions for Mark, let's get them in now. And thank you all for being with us today. I hope you're enjoying today's live stream. Yeah, everybody. Charles Marlowe in the chat, by the way, he's commenting a lot. Jason Joseph wants to know: have you ever had any bad digestion issues or anything?
No,
related
I
to
could pretty much
digestion?
eat anything, you know. Like the
Yeah.
hangover always comes like the next day after the food is digested. I could pretty much eat anything. I mean, certain things feel heavy in my gut, which I don't like that feeling,
Hmm.
you know. Uh,
What feels heavy to you?
well, nuts, anything high in avocados, anything high in fat, low in water content.
Hmm.
Mm. Like when I was in Cambodia, everybody goes crazy over durian. I don't want durian in that heat. I
Yeah.
want I want melons and that type of thing.
Durian is
Just
delicious, though.
durian?
Oh yeah, it's definitely my favorite fruit.
Oh, it's great when you get it. I don't know if you were getting it. Do they grow it in Hawaii? But I mean, if you get it
Yeah.
fresh, it's just incredible.
Yeah, it grows there.
It really is incredible.
Let's
It is a
see.
great fruit.
Honest AF says, does he have any cavities from the sugar and fruit? Well, you did get a tooth pulled last year, right?
That was um, a wisdom tooth. But yeah,
Oh.
I like I said, I've had problems from grazing. I've had problems from eating a lot of pineapples. Yeah, I have had cavities, but on the other side of that, I've gone years with no problems, providing I was, not grazing.
Hmm.
That's been the thing. To avoid grazing, I think is the biggest secret. And avoiding unripe acid fruits. I was eating unripe citrus. I remember, it's just lack of experience. That when I lived in Silver Lake, there was a Valencia orange tree, and I was picking those oranges too early, and that
Hmm.
caused problems. They were really acidic,
Yeah.
and you really got to make sure that like you shouldn't eat sour fruit. If the fruit is sour, it's not ripe, and that's going to be really hard on the teeth.
Someone's asking 3 good reasons why you can't actually experiment with carnivore.
I mean, I suppose I could, but I don't. The first reason I don't think I could even deal with it without getting sick. The
Yeah.
second reason, I don't really see why I would have to experiment. As far as I'm concerned, I don't see the human as a carnivorous animal at all. I mean, we have none of the characteristics of other carnivores, and
But we have
they're
some interesting ones. You do agree that the low stomach acid is pretty interesting, right? Like we have
yeah,
the
but
same stomach acid
it's
as a
not as
scavenger bird.
low as a typical carnivore.
No, it's
And
lower. It's actually lower.
also, no,
No,
it's
it's
not.
oh yes, it is. Mark, you got to look this up. We have the same
I
stomach
have
acid.
looked it up.
We have the same stomach acidity as scavenger type birds, like fucking vultures. We have lower stomach acid than carnivorous cats and dogs and all that.
Really? That's not
Yes.
what I looked at.
Just Google it, and there'll be 20
Like
links
I
right
looked
there.
up cats. You know what I mean? The stomach acidity of cats, which are obviously carnivores.
I believe theirs is 3,
And-
3.5.
But
Ours
also,
is
they
1.5.
have a lot shorter digestive tract than we do too. And it doesn't have all the sacs in it like we do. And they have the fangs and they have claws.
Yeah, but monkeys who are herbivores, like chimpanzees, have massive fangs. They're herbivores. They have massive teeth.
Yeah, but they don't have any of the other characteristics, really. They don't have, fangs. They got hands like we do.
I just said they have fangs. I mean, I'll show you a picture right now.
Yeah, I know. I've seen carnivores with fangs. I mean, I've seen monkeys with fangs.
Yeah, so I mean, they're herbivores with fangs, and yet the vegans still have to post that picture. I know you're not a vegan representative, but I'm just saying that's a chimpanzee, guys. That's an herbivore with massive fangs.
Well, frugivore,
Frugivore, herbivore, either way, they're not primarily a meat eater, yet they have massive fangs that will bite your damn arm off.
Yeah, they got the canines, but if you look at the rest of their teeth, like if you look at a carnivore, like a dog or a cat, they don't really have the molars like we do. They have most of their teeth are fang-like, and cats, their teeth are like needles,
Yeah.
and they have a rough tongue, and their blood pH is slightly
Okay, but birds
acidic.
don't have teeth. But vultures don't even have teeth, and yet they're still an animal that consumes
they've
meat.
got the beaks. They're a bird. They're a different species.
I'm just saying we're all different. There's many differentiations. However, when we look at people who are eating vegan long term versus people who are eating a properly chosen animal foods diet, not a processed McDonald's diet, we're seeing people with good health that last a really long time. I mean, centenarians are not vegans. They're not frugivores.
No, but they're not eating a large amount of animal products either. It's a small amount. Amount. Their diet is mostly starch.
Not the Hong Kongians. The Hong Kongians are eating the highest amount of animal foods meat on the planet, and they're the longest lived culture right now. They just surpassed the
well,
Monaco.
I guess it's a lot better than the processed diet.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
It's just then that's the thing that I think a lot of the vegans get wrong is they're comparing the benefits of their diet to somebody who's on the standard American diet, which they really need to be comparing their diet to somebody who's on a well-balanced animal foods diet.
Well, when I first started my health journey in earnest, I was 15 years old. And there was meat in my diet, but it was a whole food diet. Basically what I did was gave up all the processed stuff.
Okay.
And I think when you do that, your health is going to improve leaps and bounds when you do that.
By the way, here's
whether you have meat in it or not.
Here's the human stomach acid pH, 1.5 to 3.5. So that's extremely low. 1.5 is extremely low.
Yeah, but I think like a cat range starts at like 0.5. If you look at a cat, it's like starts at 0.5. It's even more acidic than that.
Let's see. This keeps at a very low pH of around 1 to 2. Your cat's stomach acid, felinenutrition.com. 1 to 2.
So
I've seen it as high as 3.
It is lower. And
it is
also,
lower.
too, you can't negate the fact that we've been eating animal products for probably at least 1.5 million years, at least. So, there has to be some sort of adaptation. Like, for instance, we've been eating a lot of starch. So we have, amylase, whereas none of the other primates have amylase. So
yes, have you researched amylase though? We only got amylase according to the literature about 250,000 years ago. We developed amylase, so we haven't had amylase for that long. In the context of humanity,
it's an adaptation, and so what I'm saying is that the lower stomach acid, the stomach acid could possibly be like the lower pH could possibly be an adaptation too. It's the body does try to adapt. The body's always seeking homeostasis.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, the cat stomach acid is lower. It's lower than
okay.
Than a human.
Then let's look up how much a wolf is. Wolf stomach acid. When a dog is digesting food, its stomach operates between pH 1 and pH 2. So slightly higher or slightly lower stomach acid.
Yeah.
Than humans.
But there's other characteristics too, just besides stomach acid. Like I said, the digestive tract is shorter in carnivores. It's a lot shorter. They have a different blood pH. There's a whole list of things. They have rough tongues that are like sandpaper. So there are a whole list of
a cow's is 6, by the way. So just for reference.
What's that?
I wonder what a chimpanzee's. So it says that they have a 5.5 to 7 under the evolution of stomach acidity and its relevance to the humans. Some study from PubMed. I guess it goes as low as 3, but normally in the fermentation chamber it's 5.5 to 7.
Yeah.
So it's orders of magnitude higher than humans, whereas we're actually closer to the cats and the dogs. We're significantly closer to the cats and the dogs than we are close to the chimpanzees, which I do find interesting there. And that to me tells us
we've probably eaten a lot more meat in the past 2 million years.
Yeah, definitely.
It could be an adaptation to that. You know, because yeah, I mean the body will make adaptations for sure.
Somebody asked if let's see. Yeah, so we have the full list here. Thank you for posting this. It's got the whole list of like stomach acid, basically. This is produced by looks like a meat focused website, just for full disclosure there. But I don't think these are disputed necessarily. Like for instance, a possum is a scavenger. It's at 1.5. But I do happen to know that they eat a lot of fruits and stuff like that too. So bald eagles 1.3, owls 1.3. Even a rabbit's really low if you look at it. So they've got a fermentation chamber, but they're down to 1.9. So maybe, I don't know. It's interesting. And this says cat is 3.6. So we've seen it as low as 1 to 2. So I'm wondering what's the real numbers and what's not. I'm not sure how accurate this chart is or what we've seen.
Right. Well, I mean, when you look at the overall, I mean, yeah, you have to look at other factors too. When you look at the overall comparison of all the physiological features, we don't really share a lot with a carnivore. I think it comes down to the fact that, like I said, frugivores are more flexible. We're unspecialized frugivores. That's how we're classed scientifically, which means that we're basically fruit eaters, but we don't have to rely on only fruit, where like a specialized frugivore, that's it. They're pretty much like cats are pretty much specialized carnivores.
Right.
They're not unspecialized carnivores, which means that they
By the way, somebody said that cows have
other foods.
A few people have pointed out that cows also have rough tongues like cats. So it's like some of these associations, like, okay, fangs, like it's easy to throw out to somebody and be like, we don't have fangs. Like, look at all these carnivores. They have fangs. Yeah, but then you start finding out that other animals that aren't carnivores have fangs, like chimpanzees and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
but
it starts to get really
canines,
messy.
they have more developed canines, but if you look at the other teeth, they don't have teeth like carnivores. I mean, if you open your dog's mouth or you open your cat's mouth, they got a lot of pointy teeth.
Yeah.
They don't have that stuff for grinding up plant material. Like we have the molars, which is for grinding plant material. I mean,
but our teeth work great for eating meat. I mean, it works really great for eating meat.
The molars.
All of it does. Yeah, the molars.
Yeah, but if you had to attack the animal yourself without any tools, without any knives, you'd soon find that this doesn't work so good, because you just don't have the teeth for it.
Well, so neither does farming fruit and vegetables. Farming fruit and vegetables without tools is not going to be a very easy or sustainable task either. Like, we need more tools for that than we do need for killing animals. It's pretty easy to kill a rabbit and rip its head off. I've ripped birds' heads off.
Well, it's pretty easy to climb a tree and pick the fruit. I mean, it's easier to climb a tree and pick the fruit. Which, like I said, in our natural
then you get a coconut, and then you got to open that coconut, and then the coconut is very hard to open. It's very time consuming, and without any tools, you're screwed.
Coconut is a nut. It's not really a fruit, I mean,
so we're talking bananas?
Most of the fruits we could use our teeth to open them up.
Okay. Yeah. You couldn't do that with a watermelon? You couldn't do that with a coconut?
No, you couldn't do it with a coconut. Coconut's a nut,
There's so not that many fruits.
I mean, I'll tell you, when I was in Cambodia, I don't like to let anything go to waste.
All right.
So when I was drinking a lot of coconut water, because Cambodia is great for cycling, by the way, because basically no matter where you go in the country, you could get something on the side of the road. So I'd be drinking coconut water. And then if there was meat in there, I'd have them cut it open and I'd eat the meat. I was eating I was eating the more mature meat, whatever meat was in there. It got to the point where I had to give up the coconuts with mature meat. It was just too heavy. I'd be like,
Yeah, I
whoa.
agree. I've had
So,
coconuts. They mess my digestion up real bad.
oh, it's just so heavy. But the young meat, because I would feel really good when I drank the water. I felt so good. And then I'd eat the meat and that would just take that feeling right away. Then I'd have to recover for the next 20 minutes from the meat I just ate. So probably what I'm saying is we probably in nature wouldn't want to be eating too many coconuts anyway. So you can't open them, but so what? They're not really fruits anyway.
Yeah, but I find them to be one of the only actually sustainable, in nature, not planted fruits available. Like in Hawaii, for instance, the only thing you're going to see in abundance is papaya, banana, and coconut year round. That's it. It's the only fruits. Everything else is seasonal with a very short window. People would be surprised. Lychees, you got about a month. Mangoes, you got about a month. These fruits don't exist in nature the way people think that they do. And if you've had time in Cambodia,
they do in the unseasonal tropics. If you research the wild fruit in
there's only a
Africa, in Africa, they're all there. I mean, these fruits that you never even hear about because they wouldn't ship well. They haven't been cultivated. They're just wild. And there's all kinds of wild fruits in Africa. And
I just don't think we were ever sustaining ourselves, our big brains, our bodies. Well,
there's
fruit
research
in the
now
wild.
that's saying that they're giving credit to big brains to fruit. The fact that our ancestors ate fruit, and also the research shows the most intelligent primates are fruit eaters. The largest brain primates are fruit eaters. It just provides more calories than.
Aren't gorillas the smartest ones? They eat plants. They eat greens mostly. Gorillas have the highest IQ, I believe. The silverback gorilla, don't they?
Well, yeah, but that's a rare case where they're in an environment that there isn't a lot of fruit, so they have to rely. That's what we talked about earlier. They just eat all day because it's their food source is not that high in calories, so they have to eat all day.
But where are they getting the majority of their calories from, Mark? What macronutrient?
Well, they're getting it from greens because they have to, because they live in regions where there's not a lot of fruit. That's why.
And what do those greens turn into when they ferment? They turn into short chain fatty acids. They're getting 60% of their calories a day from fat calories, not from
greens.
Carbs
Greens are definitely higher in fat than fruits, but
they're not higher in fat. No. They're not higher in fat. The bacteria in their stomach creates fatty acids, and that's what they absorb.
But greens are still about 10 to 15% fat.
Yeah, but their body is turning that in, or the bacteria in their fermentation chambers are turning it into fat.
That's what happens. I mean, they found that, for instance, I don't mean to get off the subject, but just to give you an example, vegans have a twice the rate convert ALA into DHA twice as effectively as a fish eater does. So it just so happens that your body adapts to making certain conversions. Okay. Whereas, the person who said they can't convert beta carotene into vitamin A, this could be a genetic thing. I mean, you're talking about thousands of years where possibly her ancestors didn't have to make that conversion. So she's born with some genetic defect, if you want to call it that she doesn't efficiently convert. This is probably has some genetic basis, which is why I believe it takes 7 to 10 years on this diet to where you can actually get what you need, be able to derive the protein that you need from a diet that's very low in protein.
We lost you on the camera. Somebody said, talk to me about Tony Wright. I don't know anything about Tony Wright. I'm sorry. Star Brady, welcome to the chat.
Tony Wright's theory is that the fruit that we ate in the tropics was responsible for our brain size, for instance. That's his theory, Tony Wright.
Okay.
Back to Eden, I think his books are, and Out of the Dark are his 2 books where he explores that theory.
Drew doesn't know enough to debate this guy. Thank you, Ben. This isn't a debate.
Well, it's not a debate. We're just having a conversation. Debate is too.
Mark is 58 and he's been vegan for 20 years and 7 years vegetarian before that.
Oh, I don't know. I started vegetarian. Oh God, back when I was 21. So whatever that is, that's when I gave up pretty much most animal products. Well, a few years later, I gave up dairy. It was like, well, about a year later. So I was 21. I gave up meat, and when I was 22, I gave up dairy pretty much.
Wow.
So I had occasional, like maybe fish occasionally, but then I did go back to eating goat dairy at some point. But
Someone asked, has Mark ever been diagnosed with an eating disorder? If not, have eating disorders been a concern of his doctors, relatives, or close friends?
well, in my early 20s, yeah, I sort of had a compulsive eating disorder. Yeah, compulsive overeater. Yeah, I had that happen to me. Yeah. Kind of an emotional eater. I use food. I have a tendency to use food to kind of deal with emotions. Yeah.
Travis said, others with a pH below 2 were all facultative scavengers, obligate scavengers, and general carnivores, as stated in the study. I didn't have time to read the study. I'm sorry.
I don't know. When I see roadkill, I don't salivate. I mean, it's like the last thing I want to put my tongue on. So I mean.
But I do make the case because you're not starving, you're not hungry, you're not in nature actually needing to eat that food.
Yeah, but if there's a fruit tree and there's a dead animal, I guarantee I'm going for the fruit tree.
But Mark, how many fruit trees? How many fruit trees are around you? And I'm not even saying that to be cute in LA. I'm talking about in nature. Name anywhere in the US that there's fruit trees.
Well, there are a lot of fruit trees here, but this is not our natural habitat.
Because somebody planted them. Okay, so the tropics. I lived in Hawaii. There's not that much fruit there that's in abundance all over the place like people would imagine. There are wild banana trees out there. There are wild papaya trees out there, and there's certainly wild coconut trees. But those are not sustainable for large groups of people by any means, and they're not easy to get to. Now, of course, if you were some tribal, nomadic people, you would figure it out. You would get food from those trees, but you're not going to be eating that over the wild pigs that are there.
Well, the thing is, there's nothing natural that is sustainable for 7 billion people. I mean, it's just we have such a large population that you're going to have to cultivate food one way or the other. I mean, I mean, are you saying animal products are sustainable?
Hell yeah, they're working. They work right now.
Why are factory farms in existence? Because they're trying to provide meat for such a demand.
Because we need it in such a demand. We need a lot of this stuff, and we have a lot of people. We need factory farms. They are literally a birth of necessity.
We need farms too, because you're making the argument that we can't survive on wild fruit because there's too many people. It's not sustainable. Well, that's why we have factory farms too, because there's so many people. There's such a demand because there's 7 billion people on the planet. It's gotten to the point.
No. What I'm saying is that's a different point than what I'm making. I'm saying that at any point in time, it was not sustainable.
But it was, and the research shows beyond any doubt. Even the scientists were surprised that conducted the research, and there's even more.
What did they find? What did they find?
Now.
What did they find? What do you mean?
They scraped They found that fruit was the staple for millions of years for our ancestors.
According to these Tony Wright people?
We were in the tropical forest. You could look it up.
But you can go to a tropical forest today, and you could go for a 5-mile hike, and you're not going to find enough fruit to sustain yourself for even one day for yourself.
Well, not in this environment. Well, actually, in Los Angeles, I probably could. There's a lot of fruit trees. But if you go further north, no, you couldn't.
I'm talking about in the tropics, Mark.
In the tropics?
No. Yes, in the tropics.
Maybe not in Hawaii, but yeah, you'd find it in the undisturbed tropics, the wild tropics in Africa. I don't know a lot about Hawaii.
Okay. Let's just hypothetical here. You dump yourself at any point on Google Earth where you think the most fruit is. You're saying it's the Congo of Africa or something like that, the Brazilian rainforest, something like that, right? Do you legitimately think that you would be able to survive on just the fruit that you find?
I'm just going by what they found, and what they found is that our ancestors' fruit was the staple.
But
So
let's talk about
apparently-
what's practical. Like, if that is that, does that make sense? Like, I want to go beyond what the studies found and what the studies are telling us. Like, does that make sense to you? Do you really think that you can survive?
It does make sense in a time where nature was nature and it wasn't so disturbed as it is now.
But a lot of these places are
even
undisturbed.
today.
A lot of these places are undisturbed, though. Like the Brazilian rainforest, we don't even know. We haven't even explored most of it. We don't even know what's in the African rainforest in some of these dense areas.
You probably could. You probably
could, but you wouldn't be too confident, would you?
I can't make definite statements because I haven't done it.
Here's what I can tell you, though.
Our ancestors did.
According to Tony Wright, some fringe science guy.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
According to the research, there's been more than one study on this.
I haven't heard too much mainstream research talking about how humans are frugivores.
Because nobody cares about this.
That's what I'm saying.
People are toadying to their own weaknesses.
Listen,
if I'm a meat eater, I don't want anybody to tell me that the research shows that I'm not. If I like my rice and beans, I don't want to have anybody tell me that that's not what I should be eating. People are more attached to their diet than they are religion. So.
Okay, but here's what I'm saying. Today, right now, you could put you or me anywhere on the planet with some very basic tools, and we could kill animals and easily sustain ourselves off of that. Look at any survival show that's on TV on Discovery Channel. What do they kill? They kill a snake, they roast a snake, and they eat the snake. That's how it works. They don't pick fruit trees and find berries and let bananas ripen off the vine, because those don't even exist in most places, including the tropics, is what I'm saying. Yes, I'm sure that fruit was a part of the diet.
I don't know a lot about Hawaii, but there's a lot of wild fruits growing in Costa Rica, certainly Africa. There's a guy who wrote a book on all the different species of fruits, the different types of fruits that are growing wild in Africa.
Ben, what do you think? Ben's disagreeing with me in the chat. Ben Freedom, what do you think? You think I'm wrong here? You think you can go walk around Hawaii and just eat, just picking fruit like you're in some sort of fruitopia? Doesn't work that way, buddy. You're going to see wild pigs, though, and they're going to walk right up to you, and you could throw a spear right through them, and you could eat for a week easily. Anyway, enough of that. Mark, do we have any final comments? Because I am going to wrap it up in a couple minutes here.
I think we covered a lot.
We have covered a lot. I agree. Well, any last second questions from Mark, guys? I'm going to wrap it up. Star says, easy to eat meat. LOL. We have brains and hands. Good for hunting. You are right, Star. Good for driving sweet Porsches. Veta S makes a good point. She says, you got to kill pigs, otherwise they eat your fruit. Exactly. And I got friends that have had their entire land dug up from wild pigs. Like, you have to kill animals just to even
we're not
sustain
getting
your fruit.
To the ethical aspect of this.
Mark. Neither me. Yeah, get me out of that, Mark. Get me out of that ethical hogwash argument. That is crap. Somebody says, Mark, please eat animal products. I'll let him know. Dom says, Drew, ask Mark why he suffered 3 years of depression without trying to fix it by adding animal products back in.
Well, I did after that. I first went to B12 shots and that fixed it. But I did add animal products after that because I didn't want to rely on supplements, which I really don't. I mean, I hardly do B12 at all anymore, and I'm not a fan of supplements. But
me neither, by the way.
In emergency cases, they can be useful.
People said, what does he think about the Hare Krishna movement? I don't know anything about Hare Krishna. I just know that they dance on the street.
I don't know. They're Hindus, I guess. They're based on Hinduism. I don't know a lot about Hare Krishnas either.
Okay. Someone said a deer is 250 to 500,000 calories plus. How many fruit are equal to that? Yeah, good question. That's a lot of fruit.
Which is why our ancestors started to eat animals, obviously. If you're in Europe, you're not going to find a lot of fruit trees. You better eat something. If I were starving, would I kill and eat my dog? I don't know. I might.
No, you wouldn't. Ashley says, just suggest him to look into Dr. Bill Schindler. He's a professor. Why can't I read? He's a professor at Washington State, teaches anthropology. We evolved with tools and fire. This is why we don't match with carnivores exactly. Yeah, I'm sure we did evolve. It's just a matter of when we evolved with fire. A lot of things say 1 million years ago. Some things say 2 million years ago. Things I've read say 1 million years ago. Things I've read say humans started using stone hearths, like an oven, 250,000 years ago. And that was around the same exact time that we got amylase. So we started baking tubers and root vegetables, and we got amylase. What do you know? And before that, we weren't eating a whole lot of that stuff because we couldn't eat it. That's the research I've read. Anyway, somebody asked about Peter Sagan being vegan. I keep laughing at people thinking Sagan is vegan.
But really, it's carbohydrates that fire that kind of athletic effort, you know?
I agree with that. There's not a whole lot of high-end, 100% carnivore athletes. Now, they all eat meat, for damn sure, but they're fueled by carbohydrates because that's what makes sense for that sport.
You won't find any in any type of endurance sports. Like all the carnivores that I know are lifting weights. You know, you don't have anybody out on a bike or running or whatever.
Okay. Drew, am I listening to what, Ben? You're not making a lot of sense here. Okay, Loco Motif. Drew, you were questioning if Michelle Lowe is really a psychologist. It's actually Dr. Michelle Lowe, BSc, BA, PhD. That's wild that she's actually a psychologist if she really is. She doesn't strike me as that. Do you know who Michelle Lowe is, Mark?
No.
Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. Well, I think we've gotten a last little questions in there, and I'm satisfied. Are you satisfied?
Am I?
Yes.
Yeah, this was great.
Okay. Had to sneeze there. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I'm glad we could talk.
Yeah,
I've asked you everything that I could possibly think of today, and we may have to do this again in the future.
Yeah, sure. It was fun.
All right. Have a good day at work. Be safe.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Take it easy. Okay, Mark Tassie, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed that chat. Wasn't a heated debate, but it was a little bit more of a back and forth, disagreements. People ask if Tassie has done any sport professionally. I don't think so. So Michelle Lowe is a real psychologist, huh? That's interesting. She does not strike me as somebody who speaks and acts like a doctor. Is it much easier to get that certification where she's from? I'm not sure. I've never heard anybody of a doctorate level speak like her or act like her. Just an observation. Zach Bitter won the 100-mile race in San Diego. Carnivore. Sean Baker setting world records at 50 plus. Strong as heck. Carnivore. So maybe these guys are onto something. Maybe they're not. Me personally, I feel like I do a little bit better in strength training with a little bit of carbohydrates. Maybe I haven't given enough time to adapt. I'm not sure. Eco Steve asked how long Mark Tassie was a strict fruitarian. About 20 years. Tess with the Canadian 35. Any new upcoming special guests in the future? Actually, we're going to have Michelle Lowe on. Vegetable Police stopped by earlier today. I don't know if he's still in here or not. Yes, Vegetable Police himself was in here before the interview started. He said he wants to come on. So, I'm trying to get Vegetable Police or Vegan Foot Soldier for Saturday. And I'm down to get Michelle Lowe on maybe Friday. How's that? Is it a good lineup? Michelle's sight in the morning is truly the stuff of nightmares. That's mean, man. I like Michelle Lowe's, the way she speaks, and I like the way that Vegan Foot Soldier talks about me as well. You can tell the guy likes me. Michelle likes me too. They both just want to get closer and get on the channel. Maybe not Vegan Foot Soldier, but Michelle Lowe for sure. Damn, PewDiePie Felix, you're a savage. Be nice to Mark Tassie. Thank you, Life is a Gift. Drew, you're awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. Man, it's crazy. You know, you have my chat going on here, right? And people are saying what they're going to say. Obviously you guys are watching my channel. A lot of you agree more with what I say. I still get 60% dislikes on half my videos though. So many people disagreeing with my content in general. I don't know why. And then you go to like Michelle Lowe's channel or Vegan Foot Soldier's channel, and it's like 95% likes. They're all just talking crazy shit. That Drew guy, he's a scumbag, lying scumbag. What are you guys talking about? Oh, it's funny. The perspective differences, like depending on what you're tuning into. Devin says they expect Vegetable Police is back in contact because apparently he announced he's back to being vegan. Did he really say he's back to being vegan, or did he say he's not carnivore? I think people are making videos that now he's back to vegan, but I don't think that's really the case. Ashley said, your patience with all that was seriously impressive. I truly see Tassi in his own reality, just living in confirmation bias, but if it's working for him, whatever. See, that's the thing is, and this is where people will call me a narcissist and say that I'm gaslighting people. I look at the objective results of what Tassi is achieving with his physique and all that stuff, and I just he doesn't look that healthy to me, you know? It's not a nice thing to say to somebody. How do you say that to somebody? You're like, you don't look healthy to me. But, you know, we brought up the pictures of his past, and you could tell that it kind of affected him a little bit. He kind of had a moment there, and I felt really bad. But I feel like to do this job that I'm doing, like, we have to show these people the mirror. And what I'm doing is not perfect. I'm still experimental in a lot of ways, and I'm very transparent about what's going on. I've been drinking tons of diet soda the past couple months, and guess what? I got 2 spots on my teeth now. Not good. Don't drink diet soda. I stopped immediately. It's been 4 days now. I'm transparent about it. I see the result, the bad result. If I see a bad result, I stop. If I see a good result, I keep going. And if it's something that's just enjoyable and fun, but it's not giving me the best results, well, I try and see where the balance is, how much of that I can enjoy it versus how much of it is hurting me. It's a delicate balance in a lot of these things. Star Brady says some people are super into roadkill, driving around looking for it. Ew. Devin says, I think you did so great in this discussion with Tassi. Appreciate that you're trying to be more positive, maybe less aggressive. Yeah, like, first of all, YouTube has slapped me on the wrist with some demonetization. So, you know, I have to basically be a little bit more soft and tempered in my approach, which is unfortunate because I would like to be a little bit more hardcore and press the issues a little bit more, but I really can't. It's just the way that it is. And now maybe the videos that got demonetized were because of the Elise haters and the Bobby's Perspective haters flagging my videos for harassment. But at the end of the day, they won. They won on those videos. So my goal is to spread my word, my message, my channel, grow the whole thing. And I have to play by the rules of YouTube. You know, in real life, if somebody was trying to take my money like that, it'd be a different story. But these little armchair commandos, they get to play their little game behind the keyboard, and they get to mark things for harassment when they're not harassment. YouTube did not demonetize me. They didn't allow 2 of my biggest streams to be monetized, which is very unfortunate. For a small content creator, you need every little penny that comes in. But anyway, enough about that. I hate when people talk about the monetization and the adpocalypse and all this crap on YouTube. It's very uncouth. Star Brady says, curious about the cod liver for teeth. How does cod liver taste, by the way? I imagine it tastes disgusting. You guys aren't already subscribed to the channel, please do that now, by the way. You can greatly help me out by just subscribing and liking the video. Anthony says, I was in the Honduran jungle in the early 90s. The Honduran ignored the fruits hanging in the trees and used sticks to knock down iguanas to eat. there's a reason why we eat meat. It's, come on. My dad hunted pheasants with his VW Beetle. They have the right height. That's messed up. I think Mark does do online coaching. He has a website. And I went there yesterday. He says that he helps people with nutrition stuff. Joey Carbstrong would be a good one to get in. Yeah. There's a couple people that I just truly don't know how it would go. And I think it wouldn't go well. Joey Carbstrong, Earthling Ed. Oh, God, he just pains me to look at. I think Happy Healthy Vegan would be a good, healthy debate. Thank you, PewDiePie. Subscribe with 6 accounts. You're doing the Lord's work there. Michelle Lowe says, yes, she really is a psychologist, PhD. Michelle, do you want to come on Friday? Let me know what time works for you. You're probably many hours ahead, I would imagine. If my standard 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time works for you, that's perfect for me. Let's book it now. What strikes me as a doctor, well, somebody who kind of has a professional persona, I guess. You don't strike me as that. I'm not saying it's good or bad. And actually, I think it's cool that somebody could be intelligent enough to achieve the level of PhD and still be a regular person and have a sense of humor and all that stuff. You also walk to work, which I find interesting. I'd be driving a Mercedes, something of the sort. A lot of people have an issue with the way that you talk about other people, Michelle. You know that? You can come diagnose me live. You can come talk about all the narcissistic tendencies that I have, that actually all the vegans have, by the way. Your video is funny. I covered it a lot before we got started with the interview with Tassi. Yeah, I'm going to need to see that PhD, by the way. I'm going to need to see a little... You can cover your address or whatever you need to do. But I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. What strikes you as a PhD, Drew? You don't think I'm a doctor? Who cares about papers? Well, I feel like there should be some respect given to somebody who achieves the level of a PhD regardless of what it is. That's a hard thing to do regardless of what your profession is. Some respect needs to be given to that. Now, can they still be full of incorrect things all the time? Yes. They can be wrong about diet. Psychologist doesn't know anything about diet necessarily. And again, when we look at sort of the physical body composition of a lot of these vegans that are claiming health, they're not doing so good. And that is a factor of health. It's not the whole thing, but it's important. That wasn't a Southern accent, buddy. That was a Charlie accent. There we go, Sunshine State. I'm an orthopedic sports massage therapist, and I drive... Oh, an Equinox. Okay, I thought you worked out at Equinox. I was going to say, good for you. Chevy Equinox, baby. I don't even think I can read some of these comments. Like, Sir Price says, Ed looks like a crackhead. I don't even think I could read those comments. It's not a nice comment to say. Michelle says, okay, I can tell you don't deal with education well. Hey, I've got my business degree. I can do school. All right. Do a poll. Who would or would not marry Drew on the spot? Am I when I read your stuff, does it just make me sound worse of a narcissist than people already think I am? I basically read everything in the chat that's directed towards me because I have to think about it. I'm a PhD in philosophy and I drive my 10-year-old bike to work. See, now that makes sense because you broke. Because a philosophy PhD are broke. That makes sense to me. A psychologist should be getting that money. Unless you work for the state or something like that, you probably make less. But you still probably make okay money. Drew, what are you doing for your birthday? Woo, good question. July 4th, it's coming up. I don't know, man. I used to go on dope trips, cool stuff. This year, I'll probably just celebrate it around here. I was gone last year in Hawaii for my birthday. So this will be the first birthday that I have with my friends and family locally. I love Southern California. 4th of July, it's great. Great weather. Friends are always throwing parties. At least you don't claim to have the body of a Roman bronze statue like Frank Tufano. Does he really? Philosophy is an incredibly useful degree. You can do almost anything with it. Yeah, let's see the license, Michelle Lowe. I have taught UGs, PGs, and PhDs for 20 years. All right. You probably got a nice little nest egg stashed up then. So you don't work in the clinical setting. All right. Jason, you can come to OC for the birthday. That would be good. Bart won't debate Michelle Lowe. That's interesting. Michelle, do you want to come on Friday? Somebody said to check your Facebook messages. Checking now. I don't see anything. Contact me on Instagram. Facebook's weird with people who you're not friends with that send you messages. Oh, never mind. I found it. Ben says, hey man, I love your videos. Trying to tell you that I've been to Borneo. It's like the Amazon of Southeast Asia. I was deep in the jungle. There was hardly any good fruit. Locals cultivated one rambutan tree that was sweet. The wild ones were all sour. There were very few other fruits growing in the rainforest. A few here and there, strange ones. All modern day fruit is hybridized. That guy looked like, okay. The only fruits they would eat in the jungle were cultivated. They ignored all the wild ones. Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I experienced when I was in Hawaii as well. There's just not that much wild fruit. Travis would like to go on the podcast sometime, do a live stream. Let me look into your material a little bit more, Travis. Send me a link on Instagram if you can, at Drew Morg. I like walking. Michelle's got a great accent. I had to pause the stream, but yeah, I wanted to agree. Tassi does not look healthy at all. Poster child for vegan deterioration. When I say working for him, it's just, yes, it's working for him in his own reality. I agree. Oh, got a hyper carnivore and moderator. All right, Travis. Tibby, I do have a gas grill. She's not frying, Elise isn't frying too much steak inside. She doesn't cook her steak inside too often. She eats mostly eggs and stuff like that. But yeah, she does have a gas grill now. Yeah, no big deal. I'm a mod, no big deal. Reddit. All right. I think we're going to wrap the stream up here, guys. Appreciate everybody coming through. It was a great day. We got Tassi in here. And I think we will just call it here. Michelle, get at me. I'm not going to ask you again. All right? Peace, guys. Appreciate it.
You got the sauce, bitch.